Well, there goes the post-Purim Daverhood. Hello, everybody, and welcome live on this Saturday morning, March 19th, 2022, to the 842nd episode of this program. Dave's gone. I was hoping my throat would clear up, and then I was like, my wife is making tea for me. Excuse me.
David, you sound like my reader on Word. Remember how the voice goes, and then in 1972, remember when it reads, it starts making that.
Oh, that's right, yeah. In fact, I've been watching some Tom Waits videos, so it's like, oh no, it's Dave's gone by, 8:42. We're calling it Read the Room, because our guest in the neighborhood, notice how we spelled Read the Room, because we're going to have a guest in the neighborhood named Rosemarie Reed. She's coming up in about, I guess, about an hour from now, where she will be talking to the one, the only, the Jewish Rabbi Saul Solomon, all about her movies. She is a documentary filmmaker, has been for several years now, and has done all these fun, delightful topics like concentration camps and nuclear waste and Madame Curie's family and thalidomide babies. Thalidomide always gets a laugh. It does. You know, and when I heard about the kids born with thalidomide, I flipped. But, get it, flipper. Anywho, but her latest movie is A Change of Pace. And when I heard about it, I instantly wanted to see it. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm so excited about this. She's made a documentary film about, I don't know if I want to call them the glory years, but the sort of the madness years of freeform FM radio here in New York. I mean, I'm on Long Island. We're talking about Manhattan. But there is, it barely exists. It's hanging on by a liberal fingernail. But there's a radio station, WBAI, in New York. And it's listener supported. And it's been around for, probably 50, 60 years now. And it's always been about politics and activism and the fringe, and also being able to play what you wanted to play. It was really, along with those weird other numbers on the FM band, where you would get people who would not be on AM radio. It's at 6 o'clock, past the hour with the bing bong, bing bong. It wasn't that kind of thing. It was more like DJs saying, here's what I want to play. Here's what's going on in the world. Let's talk about it. Let's get some yippies and freaks on the air to joke about it with us. Let's also get deadly serious. Oh, there's going to be a march at 2 o'clock at the Washington Monument tomorrow. Let's all be there. We're renting a bus. And then play Tchaikovsky and follow it with Jimi Hendrix and follow it with Thelonious Monk, follow it with Meredith Monk and who knows what. And there's something beautiful about that. Always was, always will be. So there was a station, WBAI, still exists. And I found out about it as so many other people did, not even from listening to it, but from knowing that in the 1970s, they took the fight all the way to the Supreme Court when they played a George Carlin routine from his record, the famous 7 words you can't say on television. And playing it...
David, do you want me to put cold water in here so it's drinkable?
No, it's great. Thank you very much. Somebody called, one mother called to complain that they had the radio on in the car, there was a kid in the car, and suddenly, oh no, the kid heard all these words that George Carlin was making fun of and deconstructing in this classic bit. And, through donations and probably thousands and thousands of dollars back then, thank you, I'll take it by the handle. Yeah, thank you. WBAI fought. And I don't know if they won or lost, actually. I don't know if they won the battle. Or at least they figured out a way to say there's certain times on the radio when the FCC will let you play certain things, and then earlier times in the day when you're not supposed to say certain things. And what do we define even as obscene? Is the F word obscene? Is tits obscene? And if they are, they're even better. But that whole argument exploded into the cultural consciousness post Lenny Bruce, but really just before HBO and cable TV and private cable channels suddenly made the argument almost moot. of the idea that if you just pay a monthly service fee, you can see, hear anything, see anything, and so forth. So it was this watershed moment, really, in American culture, and this radio station, WBAI, was, at the center of it, was in some ways creating it. And God bless them for it. Whatever issues I have with BAI in recent years, aside from the fact that they didn't hire me to be their program director. But anyway,
David, you're too good for them.
I'm too good for them. I'm just too pro-Zionist for them, honestly.
Oh, you know what? Everybody has the right to their opinion.
Yes, absolutely. But, the station has been in a toilet for 20 years. It's just been in a horrible, horrible shape. And it's not like I would have made it better. I would have killed it. But I would have killed it cleanly.
You would have done the what do they call it, the kill shot, right?
No, I mean, I would have made a very, very fun. However many months I would have kept it going on the air.
How many hours? Minutes.
For the 56 minutes, I would have kept the thing on the air. It would have been a great, fun, funny, funky, cool, crazy station, right? There would have been only 3 listeners, but they would have loved it to pieces and just play that hour over and over again. Anyway, this is all lead-in. And by the way, it's a great lead-in because this whole show is almost about free speech, right? We're going to be interviewing the director of this movie about the glory days of WAII. I have a free speech story to talk about that happened this week. And then we have our Today Yesterday trivia quiz featuring Vicki Quade, David Sheward, and our great friend Moshe Denburg.
I wonder if David can regain his title now that he's been dethroned on the quiz.
I know. Well, he wasn't there last week, so he couldn't really defend. So we'll see if David takes the trivia quiz this week. We also have our Colorado Limerick of the Damned, speaking of free speech, where I read a really horrible poem about Garfield, Colorado. There's a town called Garfield.
Is it named after the cat?
Actually, it's named after the president.
Oh.
Go figure. Who was named after the cat?
Or was the cat named after the president?
No, I think James Garfield was named after the cartoon cat.
Okay.
It's just one of those weird trivia things.
Wow.
Yeah. And, oh yes, this is pretty horrible, but we'll have our My Sick Mind segment this week over the passing of Hollywood actor William Hurt, so don't miss that. Bunch of really awful jokes where all the answers are titles of his films. Yeah, I told you I'm pushing the level of free speech. And not only is Rabbi Saul Solomon interviewing Rosemarie Reed, the documentary filmmaker, but he will also be with us doing his rabbinical reflection. Now, he did this earlier in the week, and I will talk about this, for what he thought would be an open mic virtual performance for a theater group, and it was a St. Patrick's Day theme, right? So he came up with a very appropriate St. Patrick's Day rabbinical reflection on the writings of James Joyce. We're going to play it for you because it didn't get played or done at this theater group's slam. I will tell you about that. But let's get back to Rosemarie Reed and her movie. So it isn't quite just about WBAI itself in those formative years. It's about one particular broadcaster there who was around the time of maybe even pre-Bob Fass and Larry Josephson, and if everybody remembers Lynn Samuels before she was picked up, I think, by WABC, those kinds of people. Marshall Efron, our late friend in the Daverhood, used to stop in. I don't think he had a show. But it was those kinds of crazy, kooky, goofy years at this station, which was running always on 2 dimes and spit in a bucket. It was never bankrolled to a fare-thee-well, right? So a fella there that I had never heard of, named Steve Post, was apparently one of the early classic broadcasters of this genre. Very much in the Gene Shepard mode, if you know, or a John Gambling, but more freeform. And Steve Post, that I really found out about only from Rosemarie Reed's film about him. He's just one of those gang. He came out of WNYC Radio, which is still around, which is a stead, now kind of government-owned local station that's playing classical music or what have you, and educational broadcasting. So Steve Post was there, he was an announcer, but then he let his freak flag fly on BAI, and in fact ran the station almost into the ground, because the only way you can run that station is into the ground, for a couple of years. Was beloved, and beloved most of all for a story I cannot believe I never heard. I cannot, now, I've been listening to radio, I'm a New Yorker, lived here for so many years. I know Vince Skells' story about the Beatles' White Album. I couldn't tell it to you, but I know I've heard it a couple of times about how on Christmas, the White Album showed up in boxes in the basement of the station, and they pulled it, and it was like the way to start the New Year or Christmas, and they opened up, and there's nothing on the label except the word the Beatles, and it was like the White Album, and we're all waiting for it in the war and so forth. And we know, what was the other classic radio story that I'm blanking on, even as I'm talking about it? Shame on me. And a friend of the Daverhood, Mike Agranoff, the folk singer, he wrote a classic poem story, not about himself, but about a broadcaster that he kind of made up, but he glommed from a true story about this broadcaster who saw that radio, freeform radio, was going completely downhill. It was all going to be flipped to some, commercial crap station. So he barricades himself in. He just sort of locks himself in the station, and he's like, "You can't get in. I'm not getting out until I'm really done." And it's called the Sandman.
I think it's when he got locked in the crapper.
Well, here we go. So the Mike Agranoff's Sandman story, you can find that on YouTube. You can find, I'm sure, Vince Skells' Beatles story on there. And stories of John Lennon making guest appearances on what was Pink Floyd and Tell Show, or maybe it was Dennis Elsis. There are radio stories that are legion in New York radio. Well, another one that somehow had missed me was Steve Post's story of being on, he doesn't call it WNYC, but it was WNYC. He's an announcer. He's back announcing classical music stuff on the station. He has to go to the bathroom, and therein hangs a tale. Now, it's not quite like my Miracle of Long John's story that I did on stage, but no problem in terms of going to the bathroom or getting to the bathroom. However, getting out of the bathroom and being able to get back on mic before the next mic break and not leaving the bane of all broadcasting, dead air.
Dead air.
Dead air.
No, I said crickets.
I mean, the fear of a young broadcaster of like, oh my God, the record will end, and people will just hear either, the groove.
It's like on the phone, whenever you talk to someone and you stop for a minute, they're like, "Are you there?"
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
I'm just trying to breathe.
And it's the one thing they tell, even when I was at WGBB, and station manager Tom was telling me, well, here's the one thing: if you got nothing else to play, throw in a cart or throw in our station ID and just keep playing it over and over until you get the equipment to work. Yes, that was the thing. That's the one thing. Don't have dead air, because either the station or the FCC or something like that. Well, the FCC will tune in, say, this is supposed to be a station on here. They're not playing. They're not serving the public interest. I guess we better sell it. Well, any more than a few seconds of silence. Because you've heard the term, radio silence.
Yeah, I have.
It's beyond regular silence.
Like I heard it's like Radio Gaga.
Yeah. But, so anyway. So Steve Post faces this situation of radio silence because he locks himself in the bathroom. And his way of emerging from that to at least attempt to get back on the air just in time to back announce something by Mozart or Rameau or whoever it was, is quite a wonderful tale, beautifully told. And you can find that also on YouTube as well. But here's the deal. So Rosemarie Reed heard about this. She was actually at BAI for a couple of years. She knew the fella. And she knew all those people back at BAI. And she couldn't resist being able to tell the story of this guy, Steve Post, and his up and down years in radio and at WBAI and what that station meant to him and to a lot of people in that era and meant to her. And then also fold that into the fact that she's a documentary filmmaker. Yeah.
Just gave you
Who did?
Mike from Colorado just gave you a thumbs up.
Oh, Mike, the
I can't tell.
massagey Mike?
Yeah, and Bonnie and Mike gave you a thumbs up, and I gave you a ha-ha.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
he
you so
did.
much.
We miss him. Oh, God, we miss him.
Yeah. Mike was our massage guy out in northern Colorado. Oh, my God.
Well,
Not that I like being massaged by a
He began
man,
at the
but...
gym, so he began at the gym where...
Yeah.
Like, he did it at the gym. That was his job.
Right. And I will say, when he gave me anal release, it was just the most... No, I kid. It was wonderful. I mean, sometimes I go, I'm sleeping on a bed that's all springs, and I wake up and my neck is like, and I miss Mike would just go, whoop, and it would be fabulous. But he just go, whoop, like that. Whoop. He wouldn't actually do that. He wouldn't make the noise. Whoop. I would make the noise while he was doing it. Whoop. And
I like that he would play a soundtrack for each of us on whatever we wanted to hear.
Yeah, because he played music. It was a nice little place in his house. It was, Mike, we miss you. We're going to fly back to Colorado just to get one of your massages. There you go.
You could fly up here, it'd be cheaper.
Possibly.
That would be reverse cheaper.
Yeah, that's true. So, anywho, that's what's going to be happening on Dave's Gone By. We're going to talk to Rosemarie Reed. My mother-in-law is named Rosemary, so it makes it very difficult for me to do Rosemarie.
Sometimes the people call her Rosie or Mary or Rosie, all sorts of stuff.
Yes, but I don't know our guest well enough to call her Rosie or Ro. Yeah. No, it's interesting. They asked, who was it? I think they asked Donald Trump about Roe v. Wade. And he says, depends how deep the pool is. I didn't tell that well, but it was off the cuff. Anywho, so that's coming on Dave's Gone By. Rosemarie Reed talking about this movie she made about the glory days of WBAI Freeform Radio. You got it. You don't want to miss it. It's fabulous. And she'll talk about her other more dark and depressing movies too, and what it takes to be. I'm not talking like a commercial Spielbergy filmmaker. I'm talking about making a living, making a career, getting the funding, getting the grants.
I'm curious how she raises money. Remember your friend Phil? He said he raised some money, got some investment, but also tapped out credit cards. Yeah. Like
she's beyond the point where she's spending her own bread, though.
No, now I'd love to see, because I saw the thing about that vegan chef in New York, like swindle people, because she had a, but I'd love to see how people do it.
It's she is at the point in her career where she's an established name, and she'll get a grant. She has to apply constantly for grants. She'll get the money from one and then the other, and then it's enough to she can make a movie, and then she makes one probably once a year at this point.
You should ask her about
Armorers. Yes, well, they're documentaries, so if there's gunshots, there's real.
Bad,
Anywho, so that's coming on Dave's Gone By. It's going to be a fabulous program. What else before we get to Greeley Crimes and Old Times, to our trivia quiz, to Rabbi Saul and Rosemarie Reed, to James Joyce being deconstructed by Rabbi Saul in his rabbinical reflection, to our My Sick Mind segment, and of course our Colorado Limerick. Holy, what a show! What a show!
Also, you should thank Stan for your graphic images, but also wish him well.
Oh, well, yeah. I'll share screen maybe just before we go on, because I do want to show a new Stan image. Now, Stan he isn't really a friend of the Daverhood. He hasn't been a guest, but he's been a really loyal fan. Yeah, he's our fan club. We have a fan club of one. We used to have Pam, who was number one fan, but she kind of trailed off.
Pam?
I don't know. She kind of just,
What happened?
I don't know. No, she's alive and well.
Oh,
She just,
okay.
yeah. No, I saw her. Actually, I was in New York months ago and saw her on the street over on Restaurant Row. I was like, she was with her mom. I was like, hi, how are you? But
well, she's demoted now.
She is. She's no longer.
Life changes,
Stan is up there in number one. Steve is there now. He's climbing up on the list.
Who's Steve?
Steve.
Oh, the Whistler.
No. Steve. Yes, two Steves.
Who's the other Steve?
The Steve from last week who works on that.
Who's the guy who put you on Radio Argentina? That guy too.
Right, yeah, we have fans. It's fantastic, and I appreciate it. Not to mention my family. Not to mention my Aunt Bonnie and my Aunt Esther, and and Mom, who always gives me that first thumbs up. And it's horrifying because the first thumbs up I get when I do a post, it has my dad's name, and he's been dead since May. So he's a very active listener at this point.
And you don't believe in all this psychic stuff.
But, okay, so let me talk about free speech. Let me tell you the story, my story of the week. The story that made me just, one thing I have, I'm when I get on the air, I'm very vital and fun and lively and joking and joking and joking. But as Joyce and everybody who knows me knows, I don't have a violent temper, but I have a quick. I can go from like,
lit,
ah!
you get lit, you're lit.
Yeah, I get lit immediately if something ticks me off.
Strike a match.
And the thing that will, and I'm sure a shrink would tell me this, is if I get rejected. That's like the ultimate, which is a horrible thing because I've been an actor and a playwright, and all you do is get rejected.
You have
in your
attachment disorders, maybe.
attachment disorder,
Yeah.
detach what?
Attachment.
Whatever. So there's a rejection thing. I was rejected by girls in like high school and third grade. I just couldn't get laid at
But are
all.
you happy now?
Am I happy? I'm never happy. I'm content. Things are okay. I would love to be, on a 50,000 watt station somewhere, well, in New York certainly, but and radio stations. If you're listening after all these damn years,
Radio. Pirate radio.
Program directors who say I'm too old or too weird or
Pirate radio, no?
well, pirate radio is called pirate radio because it's illegal.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I thought it was run by pirates.
they go off the. Well, yeah. What do pirates do?
Oh, they get booty.
That'd be great if you actually have a pirate radio station in New York and it's these Nigerians
Yes.
who are really out there shooting people and doing a radio show. They're like, dun 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 dun, take your drugs. So,
What the hell was that?
that's how they. That's what they do. They go out there. They steal ships. They take drugs.
Oh, okay.
They don't actually take the drugs. They
I didn't
steal the drugs.
know.
They
I
resell
didn't
the
know that.
drugs,
Yeah,
and then they kill everybody on the other ship. But then they do great radio. It's
Oh,
very,
okay.
yeah. But anywho, so this is what happens. So this week, and you know that I've been on this jag about political correctness and wokeism and all that, even though I'm generally left of the spectrum, even though I am generally...
David, your sign is sitting there about no dumping.
Oh, well, I'll use it when I'll be dumping a lot on this episode of the program, trust me. So, and I've ranted for various reasons about censorship and self-censorship and this idea of these media conglomerates wanting to control speech and focus it a certain way. So about a month ago, I went off on YouTube for pulling down one of these episodes.
Oh, you're still on that?
Of course I'm still on it because I'm leading up to what I'm going to talk about. So YouTube pulled an episode of the show for an entire episode. Because I talked and tried to talk evenly and open-handedly about the whole Joe Rogan thing. Nobody's even talking about that anymore, but
No,
the whole Joe Rogan thing of his being anti-vax, or maybe, I don't even know if he might be fully vaccinated, but just anti-vax mandate, and that's his thing. But everybody sees him as a threat to public health, so they want him pulled off Spotify. And Neil Young said, well, if Joe Rogan's on Spotify, I don't want to be on Spotify. Rabbi Saul interviewed Judy Collins a couple of weeks ago, and he wanted to, basically, Rabbi Saul wanted her to say, free speech, that's what we fought for in the 60s. I disagree with him, but no, she was like this, oh, I don't control my music to take it off Spotify, but I would if I could, and they should pull him off that network. I'm like, what the fuck? Who am I talking to? Well, what happened to these children in the 60s who would defend, the ACLU defending Nazis marching in Skokie, which I couldn't even defend. Right. So I go off on this. I go, I'm livid at YouTube because first of all, it's this dichotomy. It's this almost hypocrisy in me of wanting to tell YouTube, I'm fully vaxxed, I'm boosted, I believe in it, and I believe in the public health. Right? So really, I'm pushing forth exactly what you want me to say to people. But at the same time, I am acknowledging the right of Joe Rogan and people like him to go on the dark web and say stupid stuff, right? And that's freedom of speech. You can be stupid. He's not yelling fire in a crowded theater. He's just saying, if you want to get vaccinated, go ahead, but don't have the government telling me to put stuff into or out of my body. Right? That's his thing. And YouTube saw this and must have gotten some fishing from the words in the video and thought I was only defending Joe Rogan and only saying things that were anti-vax, an anti-vax mandate, and suddenly it's like, well, we find, your episode is a problem with public health. I'm like, fucking really? Really, YouTube? So I had this. George thinks, well, you haven't gotten over it. No, I never get over it.
You really don't. Like,
if they reinstate the show and
You
apologize.
think that I'm like grudgy, but I'm not grudgy.
Oh, I hold grudges from forever. Forever I hold grudges. Because it hasn't been fixed. I lose. YouTube pulls down my content. Right?
So can't you write them?
Of course I did.
Okay.
Have you heard back from them? Have you heard back from them? No.
Well,
have I heard? Yeah.
They're
so
busy. They're YouTube.
Yeah, it's true. They're they're busy putting up I don't know, mashups of cat videos and God knows what else. So that was a month ago. Let me roll it back a little bit more. If you were watching this show around Valentine's Day a month ago, you'll know that Rabbi Saul Solomon had a splendid time, had a fun evening, contributing to this evening put together by the Gingold Theater or Theatrical Group in New York. They're kind of an off-Broadway troupe, but they have some fairly well-known people who are members and who act in their company, and they're doing a lot of virtual stuff since the pandemic. Mostly they do George Bernard Shaw plays when they're in person. And you know how relevant George Bernard Shaw is. Yeah, it is relevant, but I'm not a Shaw fan. But okay, some of his stuff is good. The guy who wrote Friggin' Pygmalion, and it became My Fair Lady, so he gets a thumbs up. George Bernard friggin' Shaw. But they love him. I cannot understand any theater company that devotes itself solely to one playwright. It's like if Moscow Art Theater only did Chekhov. It's like, okay, 5 great plays, but fuck, right? So, but GTG, Gingold Theatrical Group, mostly they do Shaw. So they're interested in a little bit of politics, but the word and having relevant, debatable discussions in theatrical terms, as Shaw did on a very high level kind of thing. Fine. But in February, they did a Valentine's Day poetry open mic slam. Right? Open to everyone, assuming, just like in a typical open mic, it's like, well, we've got 90 minutes. If you sign up soon enough, you get on, you get 3 minutes, and you get to do your thing. But try and keep it within a Valentine's Day poetry performance, song, monologue idea thing, right? And so people did. People that you never heard of, people who were friends of the company, people who were in the company, and a couple of famous people and some friends of the Daverhood. Robert Cuccioli, I believe, was there. His wife, Lila Robbins, took part. Oh my God, the very funny guy.
Oh, Bruce Valanche.
Bruce Valanche. He was funny as hell. He was great. He's on there. And by the way, if you want to go watch it, it's on their Facebook page, the Valentine's Day Slam that they did on February 14th. And Rabbi Saul Solomon was very proudly a part of it. He did, and you can watch this on davesgoneby.com, his 3 minutes of doing Valentine's Jewish poetry in the Rabbi Saul sort of way. So yes, it wasn't your typical reading Elizabeth Barrett Browning poems or singing these lovely odes or a Shakespearean sonnet. It was Rabbi Saul deconstructing Valentine's Day. But even if Bruce Valanche name-checked the rabbi later in the show. So Rabbi Saul was great. And if you want to watch his piece, you can. Fine. So this week, this same theater company, Gingold Theatrical Group, said, well, that went so well, we're going to have ourselves a St. Patrick's Day poetry open mic slam. So come on, folks, and do Irish poems, celebrate Irish writers, and do Beckett, and do whatever, it's an open mic, 3 minutes, but keep it Irish, and keep it literary, if you will. So Rabbi Saul sees this, and he's like, well, gosh darn, because that's how Rabbi Saul talks sometimes. He says, gosh darn, damn it, I need to be part of this too. And he whips together a very scholarly appreciation of James Joyce. Not so much the James Joyce like Ulysses and Portrait of the Artist, but since he's only got 3 minutes, some James Joyce's poetry. which tends to be short, and also kind of very often tends to be about love. He's very often talking about women and things like that. So he gets this together. He's all ready. He's planning to go on as part of this live virtual open mic night that they were having on St. Patrick's Day evening. And I told you about it last week on this show. I said, tune in, right? I promoted this thing. And so he gets an email from the head of this theater group early in the week. And it's again, it's not like he could have said, the head of this theater group would say, oh, I'm so sorry you signed up so late that we ran out of room. He could have lied. At least he didn't lie. He could have said, oh, we had so many people sign up for the St. Patrick's Day thing, and you waited a day or two, which he did, to do it. So next time, we'd love to have you if we do a Tu B'Shvat special show, or for Shaw's birthday and do something shady and whatever it is. But no, this is what the in a very amusing. I understand the guy is being super diplomatic, but read between the lines. So David, who is not me, David, but the guy who runs Gingold Theatrical Group, wrote, "Dear Sol, you're wonderfully kind to have signed up for another Gingold event. The Irish Poetry Slam is specifically created to offer an opportunity for the world to present work written by Irish and Irish-American artists. We don't feel a commentary on any of these artists, no matter how amusing, will be appropriate for this particular event. We are delighted, however, at your interest, and we hope you'll join us as an appreciative observer." Yeah. And, auto signature, he, him, his. But the great thing about this man's signature, on it's not written signature like his is, the stuff that you put after your name in automatically all emails, it's he, him, his, fine, Gingold Theatrical Group, and then in capital letters. This is his part of David's auto signature. Human rights and free speech. Human rights and a little ampersand, free speech. On the bottom of a letter that says, we don't feel that talking about James Joyce in a comical way on St. Patrick's Day is appropriate for a show where you're going to get half-talented people doing James Joyce badly and singing, Clancy Brothers songs, possibly slightly off key. No.
I don't think, my feeling is then don't call it open mic, call it we're inviting people and we're going to give, just be truthful. If it's not truly open or you feel it's not, open mic means anybody who, my understanding when you did open mic in the theater in the Village, anybody who could sign up could do it.
Right.
There was no, open. So don't say it's open. Say this is invited.
Yeah.
You're inviting your friends to do things. Just be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's.
Well, it was maybe.
Why not be honest? Right?
Now, granted, when Rabbi Sol did his Valentine's Day thing, it wasn't. You saw it. It wasn't. It was slightly risque, but it wasn't.
No, it was dirty.
It was naughty.
I think you taught half that audience some new terminology.
But there was a comedian there. She was kind of naughty.
You made Bruce Valanche. She was like the Catskills. You were like Don Rickles.
Okay, fine. I was Don Rickles. I was Gilbert a little, or I should say Rabbi Sol.
You were Beyond.
No, not Beyond. Come on, it was cute. It was funny and cute, and people enjoyed it.
You took that place from Guatemala to Guadapeor.
But as I told you, I think I'm sure one middle-aged woman saw that, and she probably reaches into her pocketbook and gives the theater company $200 a year or some shit, and writes something and say, "Oh, that was inappropriate." It's Valentine's Day.
That's their right. I think it's their right, but I think you have to be truthful. So say, we're going to have, it's not an open mic. I would say we're going to have some invited artists or people we know present some Irish stuff, but don't say it's open when it's not. My mother used to always say, when you apply for a job or when there's a promotion, is it real? Because she knew, half the time I would tell her, they have a, it's not open.
Yeah. No, I just wonder if Rabbi Sol caused it not to be open among if they never had a problem doing these things for 2 years, and then suddenly.
Because you know why? Because they had 20 viewers.
Yeah, well, yeah.
And that's
nobody's watching.
That's sad.
Yeah.
when you did the thing with Red Bull and all that, that viewership was mas. So.
Yeah. No, there's no question. But but that's this irony. And by the way, the Rabbi Sal naughty a bit, and amazingly, that James Joyce is less naughty than what?
Completely naughty.
Completely.
It's
All right. Naughty. It's naughty. It's comedy. It's naughty, but totally on theme, totally on topic. Certainly talking about and poking a little fun at James Joyce on St. Patrick's Day is and the funny part was I was debating, should I have Rabbi Saul do a rabbinical reflection, or should I bring on Blarney O'Bunions,
Oh yes.
the drunken Blarney O'Bunions, who basically starts to read poetry and vomits. That would be the whole thing. He's like, once upon a midnight, and a green come out.
I think they're completely justified in what they do, but I think they have to be transparent.
Yeah.
Like you can say, like this is just a presentation we're giving, and you know.
And I was even going to think about, you know what, not even Blarney, but let's just tell the story of Seamus the Urine Man.
Oh,
But
I remember him in Ireland. Yeah.
Seamus the Urine Man, but I only had 3 minutes.
And how I almost ate tinfoil in Ireland because I couldn't find vegetarian food. Yeah.
But so I wrote, or Rabbi Saul wrote back to this artistic director of the Gingold Theatrical Group, who again said, we really don't think your thing is going to be appropriate for an open mic about Ireland, because you're going to be talking about James Joyce's poetry. And he signs his name, Gingold Theatrical, Human Rights and Free Speech, capital letters. Rabbi Saul, after both he and I calmed down ever so slightly, after we stopped shaking in rage. So, because otherwise, Rabbi Saul would have been, in Hebrew, go fuck yourself. Fuck you and your family. Well, no, you don't have family. You're probably gay. But, I mean, just saying the most awful, horrible things about him and the company and whatever. Not that there's anything wrong with being gay, but so forth.
You cannot lower yourself, your energy to other energy.
Oh, I lower myself. I will abase myself for revenge in any possible way, as will Rabbi Saul. But instead, Rabbi Saul took 5 minutes and then wrote back, I love this. He said, quote, in the interest of human rights and free speech, I respectfully decline. Because my main thing, I mean, you're saying, as you say, it's not really an open mic. This was an open fucking mic.
It's like saying no.
Yeah, well, it should have been. And so it's supposed to be.
But that's the thing. I would just say, what I would have said if it were me, I would have said, thank you for, explaining this, but I think you need to recategorize this and not advertise as an open mic. This is a vetted selection of people that you choose to promote. And I would just say that. Then I would say that. Then like every other theater company when they're choosing plays, when they're and say it's a selected thing. I would say the definition of open mic, and this is how it's used, is that you put out a sign-up sheet, people sign up and do it. If you're gonna have, just say what it is. Like then don't waste my time and your time. Be truthful. This is Patreons or people that you prefer or choose that you're selecting to present, and that's fine. But be honest about what you're doing and how you're. Don't say it's an open mic. It's not.
It's not. I like that. Well, we'll see what they do next time, if they have a next time, because they probably got 19 viewers since Rabbi, or 18. Rabbi Saul and I were not watching. We refused to watch.
You just gotta be truthful.
But I urge all of you to, if probably you've never heard of this fucking theater company until I started talking about it now. So don't bother with them. Don't support them. Don't go see their stupid George Bernard Shaw shows, right? As if you were. As relevant as Shaw can be. Really, does anybody give a shit?
I love Shaw.
All right. Okay. All right. Anyway, that was my story. My freedom of speech story for this week. And the nice thing, the only good part, is that it didn't turn out to be a waste of time, because Rabbi Saul constructed his James Joyce piece as a rabbinical reflection, right? So it is one of his sermons.
That man up. There's no way to stop him. Even if you drug him, he doesn't stop.
Well, I drug him onto the microphone, and I drug him away from the video thing. But his rabbinical reflection about the poetry of James Joyce, it's wonderful, and we're going to play it later in. You know what? I'm going to play it now. I've got about 10 minutes before we bring in Rosemarie Reed. And I've set the thing up. Let's see what was too hot for Gingold Theatrical Group to handle. Let's see. Is this on? Is this on? Let's see what Rabbi Saul has to say about the. I can't minimize Zoom. Okay. I'm not minimizing. I'm just going to bring it over here. I'm going to pull it slightly lower. There we go. I'm going to bring that down. I'm going to move that away. I'm going to share my screen. Ooh. Get to see what's on Dave's screen. Share. All right, here we go. Now I need Rabbi Saul Solomon. First of all, before then, I mentioned number something,
Yeah,
1, 2, or 3.
Your screen showing.
I know. I want them to see Olaf Sveen because this is important too. Thank you, Stan Reisler. I'll make this big.
Oh, God. Poor Stan.
Yes. I did have before the radio an earlier career. All right, well,
hit the blue button. Hit the blue
all right.
button.
Here,
the
green.
The blue.
There it is. There it is. People didn't know. I didn't even know I had.
It's your color. You love brown.
I love brown.
And I know. I don't know if many people know, but you're an accordion master.
I auditioned. I wanted to be Weird Al Yankovic, but Daniel Radcliffe took it. Harry Potter kid. What can I tell you?
You look beautiful, honey.
But thank you, Stan, for creating the. I did. I have to admit.
Who are the other people?
This was one that I initiated. This is a real.
Who are those sexy ladies?
album cover. Which one of the ladies?
And the comb over of that guy is atrocious.
And the yellow pants, the yellow suit, skirts on the women. Yes.
But look at his comb over.
Which way? Who?
The one in the blue jacket who has the part over here.
He just needs a trim in the back.
This is not a natural part. This is
This is a comment. No, this is Olaf Sveen, a real guy. Notice this is also London Records. That's the same label that had the Rolling Stones on it. This is real. Olaf Sveen, very popular, polka-ish accordion.
He's no
guy.
high-no.
Oh no, he's certainly no high-no. Anyway, thank you to Stan. It was my suggestion because I saw somebody else do this on Facebook with this album cover. And I'm like, this would be a great Stan
Is this
thing.
A meme? You should put it on Twitter and say it's a meme. It's the Olaf Sveen
dance party
meme.
Yeah. Olaf Sveen
and
dance
do
party.
hashtag Olaf Sveen.
I'm sure Olaf Sveen hashtag has been taken maybe Olaf Sveen 57 because there have been 56 previous Olaf Sveen hashtags. I'll bet there had to be. But meanwhile,
no doubt, honey.
Here's Rabbi Saul Solomon for St. Patrick's Day just a couple of days ago. Sharing.
Why? Because St. Patrick's Day in Purim are.
Oh, right, yeah. It was appropriate, too. It was perfect timing, so it was not time wasted at all. This is Rabbi Saul discussing the poetry of James Joyce. I hope you enjoy. Hello, it's me, Rabbi Saul, with rabbinical reflections for you all. I come from Temple Sons of Bitches here in Great Neck, New York. Shut up and pay attention to me. Shalom, damn it! This is Rabbi Saul Solomon with a rabbinical reflection for St. Patrick's Day 2022. As the saying goes, everyone's Irish on St. Patrick's Day. Italians, Hispanics, African Americans are Irish. Well, Black Irish. Jews, too, identify with our Celtic brethren because we suffered oppression, we love literature, and just as the Irish swallow their ale, Jews wallow in our ailments. I can think of no better way to celebrate Irishness than sharing poetry by James Joyce, who is, notwithstanding Agatha Christie and George R.R. Martin, the most important writer to have two first names. Here's a little verse from 1904 called Silently She's Combing. Silently she's combing her long hair, silently and graciously, with many a pretty air. The sun is in the willow leaves and on the dappled grass, and still she's combing her long hair that goes down past her ass. I'm kidding. It's before the looking glass, I should think. I pray you, cease to comb out your long hair. All you're doing is getting lice everywhere. Kidding again. Let's try another verse, this one with a Jewish cadence. All day I hear the noise of waters. All day I hear the noise of waters, making moan, sad as the seabird is when, going forth alone, he hears the winds cry to the water's monotone. The gray winds, the cold winds. See, this is why Jews moved to Florida. I hear the noise of many waters far below. All day, all night, I hear them flowing to and fro. Basically, this guy needs a space heater and some Prozac. But James Joyce is clearly using nature to reflect the psychology of his characters, much as Yiddish-Irish poet Shmuel O'Malleystein did when he wrote, "Toilets backed up again, ruining the floors. Guess we go back to pooping outdoors." Let me close my scholarly examination of James Joyce with this passage from Finnegan's Wake. This passage, I think, is the key to his work, if not all literature. The spoil of hesitance, the spell of hesitancy, his a take, is it ash, tittery taw, tattery tail, hesitance, hump on a dimply, hey, 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 a wincy wenky. Couldn't have put it better myself. This has been a rabbinical reflection from Rabbi Sol O'Solomon, Temple Sons of Bitches, in Great Neck, New York. Shlanta and L'chaim. Yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen, the great, the one, the only, the Jewish Rabbi Sol Solomon here on Dave's Gone By, sharing his thoughts and his scholarly appreciation there.
I didn't realize that he was Irish. Who knew?
Who knew, right?
I didn't know.
Yeah,
That's
well,
good to...
because well, he'll drink fermented borscht on Purim.
Well, what's green? I guess if you let pastrami go rancid, it could be green.
Yes, you have to wait about a week and a half with pastrami in the car.
What else is green that Jews eat?
What about shav, which is kind of a green borscht?
Plav.
Plav is not green. Plav shouldn't go. Peas. The peas in plav are green. If you have a pita, what do we call a falafel with a lot of lettuce, that's green.
That's good.
Yeah, lots of green things that. And Joyce gets the best laugh of the day. And the most anti-Semitic laugh. So that's fantastic. Well done, Joyce. All right. We have an interview for you. Coming up later in the show, we've got My Sick Mind to do for you about the late William Hurt. We've got our Colorado Limerick of the Damned, where we go to Garfield, Colorado. We have our Today, Yesterday trivia quiz featuring our great friends Moshe Denburg, David Sheward, and Vicki Quade, all playing a trivia quiz that you can play along with. Plus, we have Greeley Crimes and Old Times. But before then, let's bring Rabbi Sol instantly back into the Daverhood. Actually, I shouldn't have stopped really sharing screen. But I'll remind you that davesgoneby.com is the place to see all our archives. So if you liked Rabbi Sol's Joycean explications, you can go watch it again. Just find it on davesgoneby.com. You can watch last week's program, the week before. You heard me talking about Rabbi Sol's interview of Judy Collins about 3 weeks ago. You can go watch it. You can watch the whole episode. Hundreds, almost every episode we've ever done of our 842 are available for free, either to stream or download at davesgoneby.com.
Rabbi's garb is not present.
No, then again. davesgoneby.com. Plus, we put our archives at archive.org on the Dave's Gone By channel, archive.org. We have a Twitter feed. It's Radio Dave 2, Radio Dave the number 2, if you want to keep up with the show that way. And don't forget, if you live in Nassau County and you get Altice Cable, God knows what. What if you do Tuesday nights, 9:30 to 10:30, an hour-long random excerpt of Dave's Gone By is right there on your television, Channel 20, Tuesday nights, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Lots of ways to see Dave's Gone By. We also have a YouTube channel, despite my argument with YouTube about one particular episode.
There we go.
We've got a channel there with all the other episodes on it, except when they're muted for copyright reasons. Fuck YouTube.
Sorry.
Fuck YouTube. Fuck Gingold Group. But enough of the anger. I'm mellowing out because we have a great conversation.
Purse lips. Watch me. In through the nose. Purse lips.
There we go. Plus, we get to be really excited because Rabbi Sal is going to be interviewing documentary filmmaker Rosemarie Reed right here, right now. Now, Rabbi Sal, of course, is the founder, spiritual leader of Temple Sons of Bitches in Great Neck, New York. And Rosemarie Reed has this brand new movie called Playing in the FM Band, the Steve Post story. If you love radio and if you love documentary film, you're going to want to keep your computer right here, right now, right here on our show for Rosemarie Reed and Rabbi Sal. Let me make sure this is the right one. Is it? Nope, that's next time. Here it is. Let's hope. Very good. I'll see you in a little bit. Here's the one, the only, the Jewish Rabbi Sal. Oh, shalom, my friends, shalom, my enemies. This is your old pal, Rabbi Sal Solomon, founder and spiritual leader of Temple Sons of Bitches in Great Neck, New York. And if you're like me, you grew up on radio. You grew up on old-time radio. You grew up on Howard Stern before he was on, when he was on regular radio. You grew up on the FM DJs back in the day, and even the freeformiest of radio people. And if you're curious about those years and about a particular insane radio station in New York called WBAI, stay tuned. Just stay with us because we have a woman here who has directed a brand new documentary about one particular person, Steve Post, at WBAI, who was also at WNYC in New York, who was one of the formers, if you will, the promulgators of what we think of freeform radio. But this woman, Rosemarie Reed, she also has documentaries about all sorts of delightful things like thalidomide and Russia and cancer. And oh my God, this is the happiest movie she's probably made out of all of them. So welcome and shalom to you, Rosemarie Reed. Thank you for joining us. Shalom.
Shalom to you.
Shalom, welcome. Thank you. So, this is a little bit out of your usual wheelhouse as a documentary filmmaker because you usually do, it was spying and the one about the Holocaust. We're going to talk about that, but suddenly like FM radio. Why?
Well, I grew up on FM radio. I was a part of FM radio. I got my first job in communications in radio at WBAI, and Carol Ratner, who was also a part of this film, she also got her first job at WBAI, paid job by Steve Post. He was the one who gave us our jobs. Lucky us.
I will, because I want to know when was this and what was WBAI like when you were physically?
Well, I came in later. I came in very late 70s, early 80s. Carol was there a little earlier than I was, and Steve came really early. He was there 1964. He was really at the beginning stage. And one day, Carol and I were just talking, and I said to her, Carol, it's really interesting, but Steve gave me my first job in radio. And she said, so did I. So did he give me my first job. And I said, well, maybe we should do a film someday. And that's how it started. And through Carol's abilities to fundraise, we got the money.
And this is a full-length film. It's like 80-minute documentary, right?
90 minutes. It's 90 minutes.
So how long from this, you had the idea many years ago, but when you said, I'm really doing this documentary,
right,
from that to securing all the archival footage, getting all the interviews, schlepping around to where people live now when they weren't, I don't know if they're all in New York still. How long did that take? And what was
4 years.
4 years.
4 years. Remember, the pandemic was part of that too. So it really was more like 3 years. but it was stretched over from the time we conceived the idea till we actually got it done last July. It was a total of 5 years, but 4 years, 3 years and a few months of actually working. And the interviews happened over a period of time, and everybody, by the way, wanted to be interviewed. They had never had any trouble. Before I even said my complete sentence, they would say, "Of course I'm going to be on camera in your film. It's all about Steve." People came back twice, and when you sit down and you start to put it all together with an editor, and you start to see, well, let's look at this, let's look at that. We went to all the different archives like Getty Images, Shutterstock, Pond 5, Alame, Oddball, you name it. And we set up accounts in all of them, and we begged people to give us good prices, and they did. They did.
What is a good? You always see if you go googling for anything now, Getty Images. It's like, what is a good price for a Getty image? I'm curious.
Well, they asked for $500 per shot. I could never afford to pay that. That's outrageous. So I negotiated down for different things, different amounts. Sometimes it's $125, and sometimes it's $300, but it's better than $500. So when you have grants, or you have people who have given you money, that's why you need it for those kinds of things.
You figure the grant was for paying the editor. You figure the grant is for fuel and well, how much, if you don't mind my asking, does it cost to make a full-length documentary like this, using a lot of footage, but live people who are unpaid? It's not like you're paying actors $1 million. What did this cost?
A film like this generally would cost anywhere, because it's 90 minutes, anywhere between $550,000 and $600,000. Didn't cost us that because we couldn't have raised that much, and everybody worked for almost nothing because they love Steve. My editor worked for 1/3 of her normal. The cinematographer worked for 1/3. Everybody worked. Everybody worked for less money than they normally get paid.
Sounds like my life. But let me ask you, so for all my radio listening, I knew of Lynn Samuels back in the day. Amazingly enough, I couldn't stand her voice. Go figure. But I used to listen to, Peter Beauchamp and a lot of folks on BA. I didn't really know Post until recently when I listened to his bathroom story. And then I'm like, now I know why you're making a documentary. Before Vince Gelsa, before Stern, before all these people, there was this guy. What do they love about him so much?
And people in general, you mean? What do they love about him?
And the folks who are coming on camera in your movie to tell memories and to say, oh, yes, I totally want to talk about this guy.
Steve Post was a kind and loving person, first of all. He may have come off as a curmudgeon. He always hid behind his desk. We all know that. But underneath it all, he really, really cared for you people. He really cared for humanity. He would be so crazed right now with this war going on. It just would have killed him. He never joined groups. He never was on marches. It wasn't his thing. But when he got on the radio, he told the truth as he saw it. And people loved him for that. Radio by itself is an intimate medium. We know that. But not everybody on the radio can conjure up intimacy. Steve could. So you had the radio, which was intimate, but then you had the person at the other end who was also very intimate, and you could identify with that person. Everybody knew that Steve was a person on the outside of society. And when you're on the outside, you try to seek other people who are on the outside so that you're not lonely, you're not alone, that you can say hello to that person. And if you look at the blind, Debbie, the blind transsexual in the film, who was certainly on the outside, especially in 1967, it's no coincidence that she found Steve and that he found her and that they did that program together. So, and he did that with other people too. Ira Epstein, who wrote the letters to Steve about Vietnam and those wonderful drawings. People thought that Steve was the one who wrote those letters. They never believed it until he came. Steve said, they think I'm a liar. You better come up and show your face.
Vince Gelsa had people believing T-shirt and Razoo Kelly. Those were coming from others, and he was scribbling them all week. And I was like, we got another letter from T-shirt. I'm sure you did. Okay.
Yeah, right. Not with Steve. Steve, it was the truth.
What kind of radio show did you do when you were on BAI?
I didn't do radio per se. I did when I left BAI. I mean, I was on the air guest, and sometimes I would do a production here or there. But when I left BAI, I left to do a series on. It was called um, Endangered Literature, and what I did was I took small books that had human rights themes of some kind, and I wrote them into radio plays, and I produced them. I was very lucky in that the Corporation for Public Broadcasting loved my proposal, and they funded about 10 of them, and they went national in public radio. And then I really did want to do film, and I happened to have, my lawyer was also Gorbachev's lawyer. And I said to him, I'd like to do a film on Gorbachev. And he got me the rights to do it. And that was my foray into doing television. I worked with Steve Cohen from Princeton University, who recently died, and his wife, Katrina vanden Heuvel from The Nation magazine.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And we did three films together on Russia.
Please stop there, because everything you say, I'm going to ask like 10 more questions. So tell me a little bit about one of the people I consider almost a hero of the 20th century, and we didn't have that many, but Mikhail Gorbachev. You did a film with him, a whole long interview with him. What was your, not only your impression, but the best story you have of dealing with Garby?
Well, one is a personal story. I don't know if I want to say it. It's really interesting. But I think his introducing me to his wife was an important thing. Raisa, she was never on our shoots, but he introduced me to her at the dacha, and it was really very interesting to meet her. He was a very kind man. Also, he is. He's not dead.
Yeah.
Let's not even think that. He always kissed my hand, which I thought was wonderful, and he was just very open and very generous when we were with him.
All right. Oh, well, that's lovely to hear, quite honestly, because you want.
And here's a story for you.
Yes.
Okay. When he left office, this is so sad that I can almost cry. He stole nothing. He left broke. He had no money. He lived in a 2-bedroom apartment, very nice in Moscow, but really no money. He was honest. Unlike Putin.
Really?
And unlike Yeltsin, left with a lot of money. Not Gorbachev.
I will say, thank goodness, because he was an international hero of some level, you would see Gorbachev doing like watch advertisements eventually.
Yes, that's what. Remember Pizza Hut? He did a Pizza Hut commercial.
He did not.
Yes, he did. He was so in need of money.
I tried out for that. They said, no, we have somebody else who has up there representing you. Guess who? Go figure. Now, the other documentaries that you did with the vanden Heuvel and the Cohen, was that the Holocaust one, or which ones did you do with them?
All the Russia ones. A Widow of the Revolution and Russia Betrayed and Conversations with Gorbachev. It was a trilogy, yes.
Well, could you see what is happening literally now with Russia and Ukraine coming 20, however many years ago you did these?
No, because I couldn't, I'm not a Russia expert, but I couldn't see it because it was just at the point where the Soviet Union fell apart. So, and then, they all went, those satellite states, they all went off to their own. Some of them went to NATO, some whatever. I couldn't see it. I could never see it. But maybe Steve did. I don't know. I don't know what it would have been.
Tell us another story about this, because you've got this movie. It's about WBAI and this particular guy, Steve Post. First of all, don't tell the bathroom story, because anybody can go on YouTube and listen to him for 20 minutes tell this hysterical, wonderful story about just needing a bathroom break before going on the air and what he went through and what goes through the mind of a broadcast person.
Right.
Nothing's more important than getting to the mic. We'll get that story somewhere. What is the story that you love most about Post, or one that you couldn't put in the film because of time?
And not only because of time, because the stories were no longer there, or because they were half recorded. So there's a story where he, pardon me, where he goes to somebody, it's Paul Krasner, who tells him that Lenny Bruce needs a typist, and Steve was a great typist, and Lenny Bruce needed to type up his depositions because he had a court case coming up, First Amendment issues, and Steve was hired to do that work. He probably got $1 an hour, but so he did it, and he always said he learned so much about the First Amendment because of that job with Lenny Bruce, and he was a First Amendment purist. There's no doubt about it.
I mean, wow, I'm so glad I asked that question. I mean, so many questions that we have for Rosemarie Reed. I didn't even mention the name of the film. It's FM Band.
No, Playing in the FM Band.
Sorry, Playing in the FM Band, excuse me. I didn't italicize the whole title. Shame on me. Playing in the FM Band, The Steve Post Story, which is premiering when and where and how?
March 11th, this Friday coming, at the Film Forum. It'll be there for a week.
And then have you made?
And Saturday night Friday night is the premiere, 7:00. That's completely closed out. But Saturday night at 7:00, I will be there to do a Q&A with Carol Ratner and someone else, Janet Coleman, who's in the film. And so if people want to come, there are seats available.
But beyond that, I'm talking like, okay, so Film Forum, is it going to go on the festival circus? Or are you trying to make a deal with Netflix or Amazon or Apple?
We're trying to get a distributor, and we think we have one. But it'll be on different streaming devices and about six theaters around the country. Of course, there's international distribution. I don't know if this film would ever do well just internationally, like my other films did. But there's been some interest in a theater in Bridgeport, Connecticut. We've applied to many of the film festivals, so we're waiting to hear. And it'll be in more places, and certainly it will stream at some point.
Now, do you really make a full living as a film director? You don't have to do any other day job. You don't have time for one. Is it just all through grant funding? How do you support a living, being, I presume, a New Yorker?
Yes.
Going from new project to new project. How do you do it?
Well, I was a teacher at one time, but I managed to get. I'm very lucky. I'm one of the lucky ones.
Yeah.
Right? I get grants and individuals. There are some angels who give me the funding, and my executive producer is one of the people. But I do get grants for my other films from the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, from the Alfred P. Sloan Foundation, the National Science Foundation, places of that sort that have given me money, and the sales of my films bring in some money.
I'm sorry to do all these Christian things with the cross and the fingers, but they don't have a six-pointed thing I can do. But which way does it go? Does it say, oh, I have a film idea, I want to raise money for this? Or someone comes to you from a foundation that, we would love a documentary about this. This seems to be in your wheelhouse. Here's money if you want to do it.
No one's ever come to me. I say, this is my idea. If a foundation has an idea for something and they want to pay me for hire, then they make all the decisions. I'll do it, but it's not my film; it's their film, and they can say we don't like this, take it out. Whereas when I go and say I want to do this film, hands off for the most part, and it's usually what I want in the end, what I see is my vision.
Being a Jewish person, as you see, I am kind of, glad in a way that you did a documentary about Ravensbrück concentration camp, because you can't get a Jew in a room for more than 10 minutes without somebody bringing up the Holocaust. So many Holocaust fiction films, documentary films. Why one more? Why yours?
Well, I lived in Germany. I was working there on some of my films, and I met someone who was a friend and introduced me to the Sachsenhausen concentration camp, and then the Ravensbrück. And it was, I also gave tours there for students who came from America. It was very interesting. And I said, this really deserves to, as a filmmaker, I'm always thinking in terms of film, and so I said, I really want to do this. Ravensbrück was the largest concentration camp for women built by the Nazis. It wasn't the only one, but it was the biggest. It was obviously, as many of the camps, medical experiments went on, but just like a few other concentration camps, it was a brothel, imagine. Yes, it was a brothel.
No, I get it. Yeah.
And it was where
for the German soldiers, in other words.
it was
the capo or who?
It was basically to get men in Sachsenhausen and other places to work. They would get these little tokens. Remember, it was against the law for Germans to sleep with Jewish women. So they would get tokens. You want cigarettes, you want candy, you want this, you want sex. And so some of the men, or many of the men, I don't know the numbers, chose the sex. And it's pretty spelled out because women left letters behind, and I use some of those letters to write, to voice what they went through, what it was like for them to go through these brothels. And it was where it was the place, it was maybe the only place where the women guards were trained. Ravensbrück trained 2,500 women guards that were deployed to Auschwitz and other places. And they were trained there. They were horrible. They, in some ways, might have been worse than the men in many cases.
You always hear that, Ilsa the she-wolf. You always hear.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Right.
What do you get from coming out of immersing yourself for a year or two or three making a film like that? You know it's not going to have a happy ending. Is there anything besides putting your hands in horrible muck and then just getting out of it? What do you get out of doing this?
I think people should know these stories. It's not just the Holocaust, but there are many stories that will never be told from the Holocaust, and many other kinds of Holocaust stories won't be known. I gravitate towards these stories because I think people should know about them. I think they should understand history and know history, and so many people just don't want to know it at all. And I feel very bad about that. The history is very, very important. I'll tell you a quick story about the Ravensbrück case. I had done some shooting there, and I had my tapes in my closet in my house, right behind me, in fact. And I just moved into this apartment, and I put everything away. And maybe I was here 3 or 4 months. One night I couldn't sleep. I just could not sleep. I said, I got to raise the money for this film. Where am I going to raise the money? How am I going to do it? Blah, 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 blah. All of a sudden I hear bang in my living room, and I jumped up. I got out of bed. I'm looking around, and I'm saying, what is this? Looked in the corner, and there on the floor were all my Ravensbrück tapes. They had fallen off the shelf. That I don't know how. It was there for 3 months. And why the night that I'm thinking about it? So it stuck with me. Those women somehow said to me, you better finish this film. We want you to finish this film. It was the most amazing experience of my life. There was no reason for those tapes to fall, and they did. Isn't that's a story.
No, that's pretty exciting.
And it's the truth.
One thing that happened the week that we are talking is that, astonishingly, like going back to speaking of Russia, they were bombarding, they were sending missiles into a nuclear facility in Ukraine, and somehow did not blow up the world yet. I don't know.
Yes.
But you did
Is the key word.
Movies about nukes. What should we know from your research, from your films, about, like, if they accidentally happen to blow up a core reactor? I mean, what are we worried about? Or
We're dead.
We're dead.
We're dead.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, if that happens, Europe is gone, and the economy is gone, everything is gone. There's not enough. If all of Europe were to go, or a portion of it, I don't even think there's enough medical supplies to really understand, to really take care of everyone. So Russia is really got us by you know what, because we really are at their mercy at this point. We've got to do something.
Well, let me ask you.
It frightens me. It really frightens me what Russia can do and is threatening to do.
Yeah, well, we can do it too. We just choosing not to.
Right, because we're the same people.
Yeah,
we're the same people.
Yeah, at the moment. Okay, but here's a question. You, I'm sure, are an avowed lefty, if you will. Being on BAI, doing all these documentaries about important social matters. How are you not at this point an embittered 60s, 70s radical-esque person looking at the world like everything we did at Woodstock, everything we talked about on the air, all the rallies, all the marches, all the nothing, we're going to lose abortion, we're going to lose this. How do you not just go, oh, fuck it?
Well, some of that I wasn't around for. I was too young to go to, I did go to Woodstock because my aunt took me, but I was too young for that. But certainly the fight for the ERA, the fight for abortion rights, all very important to me. It's true. You can't give up, because if you give up, they win. And if you don't have some united front, it's just not going to happen. I'm hoping, of course, that the younger generation will follow in our footsteps. Some will, a lot won't. It's a different world. And they don't know. That's the thing about history. I want people to know history. What do they think? That women got the right to vote because we snapped our fingers? No, there's a real push. There's a real, effort to make sure that happened. I spoke to I have a neighbor who's a very young person, and she's going to climb to the top, blah, blah, blah. No clue that there was once a time where women couldn't get an education. Where is your education? Want to understand. And I'm hoping that there are more not like her and will follow through. I'm not going to give up. I'm disappointed. I cry. I get upset. I bang walls. Just listening to the stuff with the abortion stuff today in the New York Times, it breaks my heart. It breaks my heart that we fought so hard for these things, and they're falling by the wayside.
I think the only thing that you hope is that everything is cyclical. So 10 years from now, it will swing.
Swing back.
Yeah,
right.
Stuff like that happens a lot.
Yeah, it does happen a lot.
Now let's swing back to something more fun. Let's swing back to your brand new movie. It's called Playing in the FM Band, The Steve Post Story. So I want to hear more, but first of all, I got to ask this, because just by sheer serendipity and sheer coincidence, I was interviewing the actress Sharon Gless a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, from Cagney and Lacey?
Yeah. Well, believe me, I'm not going to believe you. For some reason, enemas came up. Okay, fine. I interviewed George Clinton of P-Funk, right? And enemas came up because he has a song or two about them. Now, somewhere in my research about Steve Post and WBAI, enemas. Who is the enema lady?
Nobody knows. Nobody.
What is the enema? Tell me. I don't remember this. What was this on his show?
We don't know if it was a setup. We have no idea if she was real. But she was obsessed with enemas. He had her on a number of times, but I didn't have many tapes of her. I think I had 2 tapes of her. And I really believe she was a man. I don't believe she was a woman. When you really listen to her voice, she sounds like a man. I could be wrong, So, but yeah, she would give stories about getting enemas and giving enemas.
So, George Carlin didn't get BAI off the air. This woman or woman did, whatever. Oh my God. What was your favorite in going through all the research? Your favorite Steve Post story? When you were listening to archives of him doing him.
Well, it's hard to say, because I loved the ledge story when he was out on the ledge, but I also loved his stories about his mother and her cancer. It was told with such beauty, such finesse. I mean, your heart just broke when that happened. I also loved the story he did about 9/11 with Steve Biebrich. It was a wonderful story, and how this person, Steve, who was on the bomb squad, was a cop detective, moved into Steve's building, was the super there, but he was a detective. And at 9/11, he was already on the bomb squad. And he goes into the building and loses his partner, Danny Richards, and very sad. But at the end of the story,
Tapes falling again.
Right. Right. At the end of the story of the 9/11 story, we shot the new street signs that are dedicated to Danny Richards, who died in 9/11. He also was the bomb squad, and it's a visual medium. So I used his words, I used his music, did my Lord to deliver Daniel, because it was Daniel Richards, and he used that on the air, and I used it. And the visual is of the rose, the beautiful rose at the memoriam closing down. Okay, and he says, which still gives me chills. He said, "I don't like to cast moral aspersions, but for me, the story of Steve is one of survival and what we do next after we survive. It's a beautiful story. It's a beautiful story. I got chills up and down my arm just thinking about it. And whenever ever I am depressed, which isn't very often, but if I feel like something's not going right, I go to that. And I remember that other people have bigger pain than I have. And that to me is important. You know, someone else is suffering in this world. They're suffering more than I'm suffering. I got to get out of myself. I got to do something because it's not right. You know, I have 3 meals a day. Many people don't. You know?
No, I mean, I've got smaller sufferings. Bursitis, I got a prostate thing, you shouldn't know from it. So I'm suffering, I'm in pain all the time, but I survive it, I conquer it. Now, we just have, I think, another couple of minutes with the delightful Rosemarie Reed. I want to direct everybody, this may be airing after the film forum premiere, so if you don't see it, look for it on the various services.
Right, there's a Facebook page. Playing in the FM band, the Steve Post story. People can write to me on my website, which is www.filmsforthought.com. All spelled out. FILMSFORTHOUGHT. Filmsforthought.com.
Now, speaking of filmsforthought.com, are you thinking about your next movie?
Oh, I'm more than halfway through my next film. It'll be out later this year. I am doing a film. It's called Forgetting the Many, The Royal Pardon of Alan Turing. Do you know who Alan Turing was?
The code breaker. He should be another hero, but he was gay, and
right.
People didn't like
my
him.
story is about his gayness and about his he received a pardon from the Queen, but nobody else received it at the time. So I've been interviewing the men who were also convicted under gross indecency, but didn't get a pardon or went to jail or whatever. It's changed a little since then. There has been some apologies made, and the Turing law came into place, but it's nowhere near what's needed. So I have been interviewing people. I'm working with the Turing family. They've been extremely cooperative with me. Lovely people. And that's going to be finished in July or August.
Oh my God! So you're able. That's amazing that you can do a full court press on getting this film distributed, seen at Film Forum and these other places and festivals. Meanwhile, you've also got to be right on there, and you're in the editing room, I guess. Or have you done shooting and you're just editing now, or are you still?
We're halfway through the editing. We're in a good place. And my editor, Gina Pataki, I've worked with her on many projects. We're a team, so I don't even have to be there this week. She'll be able to do things when I'm not there. So really...
here's an inside question for you. Your recommendation, her recommendation, Avid or Adobe, or something else?
Avid, absolutely.
Avid, why?
It's just better.
Okay.
A Final Cut Pro is not good, especially 10. 7 is better, but it's really Avid is the profession. It's the standard for the profession, and it's quicker, it's easier, it's much better.
Last question for Rosemarie Reed: which documentary, maybe not even a documentary, which filmmaker most influenced your work? Which filmmaker do you most love and were inspired by?
D.A. Pennebaker. And he was a mentor for a little while. I love D.A. Pennebaker. I love him.
Which Don't Look Back? Which film? What movies?
Don't Look Back, of course. I mean, the Bob Dylan, all that. Even Kings of Pastry, I love. Did you see Kings of Pastry?
No.
It's wonderful. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. Yeah, everything. I can't even tell you. It's just everything he's just got. And I'm so glad before he died, he won the Academy Award.
What did you learn directly from him as opposed to just watching his movies?
That's a good question. I think that he was the one who said to me, if you can get home movies or any movies that are a different time period, he said that's something you should use. And never forget that cinema verite, which he basically invented, and which I use in this new film a lot. I never really used cinema verite, but I love it. I absolutely love it. This particular film that I'm doing now, since all the men are alive, you make a different film when people are dead. If you make a film on someone who's dead, it's a different film from one that person is alive. Because if a person's alive, you can go to them. You can say, I don't understand this. Or let's do this, let's do that. You can't do that. So with this, all of my men are alive, and so I'm using more cinema verite, and I'm using what he told me.
Yeah, well, no, because if you try and do cinema verite with dead people, you put the camera.
Doesn't work. Doesn't work. You get very disappointed.
Yeah, it's it's Frederick Wiseman or Warhol at that point. It's just like and you just see the light changing over 17 hours. It doesn't do anything. It's not. But everybody, please try and go see Playing in the FM Band, the Steve Post story. Can they also, I should mention, from your website, see your other earlier movies, the one about nukes, the one about, I didn't even talk about thalidomide and Ravensbrück and all of that.
You can write to me. They're for sale. I sell them on streaming, not very expensive at all. I don't want to gouge people. But if someone wants a block of there's 6 films, the 2 Women of Science, the Ravensbrück, and the now Steve's, and the Women of Science. It's very inexpensive, and then you can just take all of them and watch them.
Like a regular person, you're not saying like a library or a play wants to do a screening. You're saying an average person can write to you and say, "Hey, I would love to see your movies. Here's a whatever it is, a certain tiny amount, and go ahead, enjoy it."
They're $15. That's all they are. And if you want all 6, 7 of them, it's it's not much more than that. We don't feel like we want to gouge anybody.
So please, one more time, your website is Films for Thought.
Yeah, www.filmsforthought.com. One of the one on Forgetting the Many is under construction right now, but everything else is in place. You can and there are little excerpts of the films on my website.
Well, how can you beat it? Rosemarie Reed, thank you very, very much for being with us in the Daverhood. Please keep making documentaries. Anytime you interview me about anything, I'm photogenic. I'm good with verite, and I know my backstory you don't even want to know from. But congratulations on playing in the FM Band and all your other work, and much more work and better times ahead.
Yes, I hope so for all of us.
Shalom.
Thank you. Shalom.
Rabbi Sal Solomon chatting, of course, with Rosemarie Reed, the filmmaker. Definitely check her website out, filmsforthought.com. And I'm thinking about this program, the rest of the show, because we have so much more to do on Days Gone By today, Saturday, live, March 19th, 2022. Our 842nd episode, we're calling it Read the Room. Get it? For Rosemarie Reed. We still have our Colorado Limerick of the Damned, where we're going to Garfield, Colorado, our My Sick Mind segment. We also have Greeley Crimes and Old Times, so quite a lot of fun ahead. But before we even get to that, I want to thank our fine, fine friends at Hewlett Minuteman Press, the Copy Kings of Hewlett, Long Island. They're the Minuteman franchise in Hewlett. I can't do an ad for them. I can't tell you to go buy stuff there. Heaven forbid. Because the people like Altice will see that on public access and go, "Oh, he's doing it." Come on. So no, I'm just saying the great people. And I've had very good luck getting work done with them in the copying realm and the printing and binding realm. You might too. So you're in the middle of Hewlett, Long Island, near the train station.
Wait.
Check them out. There you go. There you go. So the Torong family is really great.
Do not ask them about enemas.
You really don't. It's funny. We have other guests coming up. I want to work in, or have Rabbi Saul work in, a question about enemas, no matter who the guest is. Because we have some cool guests coming up. We got Peter Noon of Herman's Hermits.
From high school became a proctologist. You could ask him.
I can't ask him. He died.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. David. Yeah. So I can't ask him anything at last.
That's sad.
But who else do we have coming up? We have a couple of, I'll tell you towards the end of the show, some of the upcoming guests on Dave's Gone By. But before then, we've got a quiz to get to. It's our yesterday trivia quiz. There's 10 questions in it. You know what? Let me let in our first player, our first contestant, one of our beloved semi-regulars. Actually, she's, pretty regular at this point, depending on how much coffee she's drinking. Logging on to join us from Chicago, the actress, the writer, the wonderful Vicki Quade. Vicki, don't forget to unmute your microphone. Plus, we're going to bring in Moshe Denburg, the musician. So he's coming back to play the game today.
Nice.
Hello, Vicki. How are you?
Hello. There. Oh, that's better. I'm good. How about you?
I'm great, and you such a springy, wonderful backdrop for you there.
Well, that's what I was looking for, you know?
Is the
Only
weather?
my hair. I can't stand my bangs.
No, I like they're fun. Well, it's a little bit
No,
Hitlery.
no. They're
Yeah.
like, they have a life of their own. They live. They live
It's
somewhere
straight
else.
One side.
Nobody wants
I
it.
know.
Their hair is a little bit Hitlery. That's
Well, maybe
kinda-
Hitler.
I know. It is. It is. It's,
Well, that's
and
fair.
after a while, you don't care any longer. Like,
Moshe Denburg also joining us, and oh my God, all three! Look at this, we're all logging on at the same time now. Now, Vicki is the co-creator of Late Night Catechism and Bible Bingo and Easter Bunny Bingo coming up.
which opens this weekend, yes.
Open this weekend in Chicago.
Yeah.
Moshe Denburg is a musician. Moshe, you're oh my God, the name of your band is based on some kind of dish.
Simus.
And we're making a big simus because, of course, David Sheward in his Playbill pajamas joining us.
Hello, David.
Good morning.
How you doing, man? Just a second. I want to adjust the lighting here. Go for it, David. I can hear Dave. I can hear you.
You adjust. Take it. The shade down because you're glowing.
We all have to adjust something, you know.
He looks like everybody in the Ukraine right now after they struck the nuclear reactor. It's just their skin is vibrating. But how are you? David Sheward is a theater critic. He writes for theater, culturaldaily.com, theaterlife.com, and his own blog, The David Desk. How you doing? David, the pandemic is kind of waning. Why are you wearing a mask?
We have my cleaning person is here today.
Oh, okay, cool. So wise of you.
So she's in the other room, and just be cautious. I'm
Now,
still wearing my mask on the subway.
Are you going to a show later today?
Not today, no. Tuesday, I am seeing the Michael Jackson musical,
Yeah.
which I was supposed to see like a month ago, but the lead had a foot injury, and he's finally back in the show.
Right.
And then next Saturday, I will be seeing Plaza Suite with Matthew Broderick and Sarah Jessica Parker.
So,
Excellent.
It's going to be interesting to see how Neil Simon plays in 2022. One of his old plays, not one of the later ones that are deeper and darker. So I'm curious. I'm going to go see that one too in a week or two. But anywho, we're here to play the Today Yesterday Trivia Quiz. So what that is, as you all know, and actually it's great, all you guys know how this is played. There's 10 questions, 9 of them, and then a tiebreaker. Each of them has to do with...
Gotta get my tiebreaker paper.
You know what, Dave? I think for getting up this early in the morning on the West Coast, I should already receive 2 points.
Oh, that's right. And Vicki is an hour behind us on the East Coast.
Is she?
Yeah, I'm in Chicago.
Oh, you're in Chicago. Okay, so you're in Central Time.
Yep.
Did the clock?
But still, here it's 7:30 in the
last
morning.
weekend we had to change the clocks.
All right. So here's the deal. So, by the way, Moshe, I'm getting 2 points for no reason. No.
Nice try.
No.
Well, I gotta try. If I don't try, you don't get anything.
But you can ask a lot. But here's the deal. Every question, except for a couple, has to do with something that happened on this date in history. Today being March 19th.
This backdrop looks like a Disney film.
Doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's real.
Bluebird to pop out. Yeah.
Oh, Vicki. Oh.
Yeah. No. Yours looks like playbills, or what do you call?
No, David's looks like the dramatist bookshop.
And Moshe looks like he's in a hotel room.
He does.
I mean, it's your usual place, but really with the curtains around on both sides.
Yeah, right, of course.
Or a funeral home.
Oh God!
Oh, where are you? Well, why are we dumping on Moshe today?
I don't know what Moshe does for a living. Maybe on the side he,
I'm an undertaker. Well, I play music at weddings, bar mitzvahs, simchas, but funerals, not so much.
No, as Joyce says, it also kind of looks like you're in the back room of a concert hall, which I buy because they've got the plants and they got the thing.
Yeah, this is my wife's her place, right? I don't think I've ever been in touch with you from because we have 2 places from my place. But anyway, she likes a lot of plants. She has really nice plants here.
She does indeed. Well, anyway, I'm going to plant some ideas in your heads about questions that all happened on this date in history, March 19th. So, first thing what we're going to do, though, is I'm going to ask let's see. I guess Moshe is kind of the least. Well, that'll be later. But Moshe, could you do me a favor and pick a number between 1 and 6 and tell me what it is?
The number is 5.
Whoa, my favorite number. Moshe with a 5. And then Vicki, por favor, if you could pick a number.
2.
Ah, Vicki making a number 2. You. And then David Sheward, could you ask your cleaning lady to pick a number between 1 and 6?
Number 3.
Number 3, okay. This will be the first, when Leslie's not here, nobody takes number 6. So this is going to be.
What's with Leslie? She's not here today, or she's still with you regularly, Dave?
Yeah. As Joyce says, she's in witness protection. But no, she's traveling. She's literally with family today, which is kind of cool.
Ah, very nice. Very nice.
And
Okay.
you weren't with us last week, so you missed out on an opportunity to win again and retake your crown. Everything okay? Everything good? All things good with you? Dave? Oh, I missed
David.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was distracted for a minute. Yeah, I had an appointment to take care of last week. And it was just something that happened at the same time. Everything's fine.
Oh, good. Thank God. So let's see how fine it is as we roll the die.
May I say, okay,
Please.
Dave, I think your volume, at least where I am at, is not quite high enough, your mic. Dave Sheward is fine. Vicki, I'm not sure. I think it was okay.
Well, I'll just keep talking. Is that
No,
okay?
that's good. That's good.
All right.
Dave, Dave, I think your mic could be a little jacked, but a little jacked up from where it is right now. If you could do that.
I don't think I can, but I can talk a little bit louder. No, honestly,
Okay.
I've literally got the mic as high.
Oh, no, that's better.
That's better now. It's better
Okay.
now.
So I'm just going to talk like this for our rolling of the die.
Not yell at people.
News now for the hard of hearing.
That's it. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Our top
Ah,
story.
what did you
Our
say?
top story
What did you say?
tonight.
All right. Hey, Moshe, if you can hear
No.
me, give me 5.
5.
You gave me 5. That's your number, and I just rolled a 5.
So that means I'm first.
It means you can decide whether you want to be first, second, or third.
I'd like to be third.
Oh my goodness. Okay. I'm going to roll the die again. No, but it's true. My volume is not. It rolled a 5 again. Hold on. 6. Oh, he's down 6. Jesus. 3. David Sheward, would you rather be first or second?
I'll be first.
David going
I'll
first.
be
Vicki,
second.
you're second.
That's
Moshe,
right.
Third. Not third place, but third in our round. Are you guys ready?
Yes.
Okay. First, David. First question. Can you hear me, David?
Yes, I
I'm
can.
not joking, but okay. The year was 1227.
Hmm.
Installed on the papal throne today is Ugolino di Conti, aka Pope Gregory IX. He was a fairly controversial figure. Which of these is true about the 9th Pope Greg? A. He based a number of his writings on the Jewish Talmud, sometimes plagiarizing them. B. He carried on not so secret same-sex relationships with not one but 2 cardinals. C. He branded his own brother a heretic and imprisoned him but saved him from torture. Or D. He hated cats and decreed that they were satanic.
Okay, so which of these is true?
Yes, only one of these is true.
They all sound very. I didn't know too much about this pope, but so let's see. He stole from the He stole from the Talmud. He had gay affairs with 2 cardinals. He sent his brother to prison, but saved him. What was that?
He had his he branded his brother a heretic and imprisoned him but saved him from torture.
Oh, okay, I see.
Or D. He hated cats and decreed that they were satanic.
You know, I think the cat thing is probably the goofiest, so I'm going to say the cats. D.
Is that your final answer?
Yes. Yes. And it would be entertaining if it were true.
Memories all alone in the papacy. Because Pope Gregory hated cats, and you get 2 points.
Yay!
Mazel tov, mazel tov. I also was thinking of that one, David. It
Me
seemed,
too. I was
seemed like the right
my
stuff,
answer.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now this is fun. This is if you can bear with me, because this is just so great about religion here.
Well, cats are not mentioned in the Bible.
Yeah, at all?
No.
Wow.
Dogs?
Dogs.
In the
like
Bible,
17 times.
you mean in the Hebrew Bible, cats are not mentioned at all?
I'm not Hebrew, so.
What about Myra and Isidore
And
Cat?
Ephraim cats, they were in there. They're
Yeah,
in
what about Isidore Cats and Jerry Cats?
I think the Cats musical was mentioned.
And I think it was.
In Deuteronomy.
Yeah. But here's the deal. This is actually real. Pope Gregory IX wrote something called the Vox in Rama, a decree against Luciferianism, Lucifer, and
Yeah.
satanic cults. In this decree, he described this satanic initiation ritual. The initiate is approached by a giant toad. This is a pope who wrote this shit.
Was there LSD involved in it?
Then a pale man appears and kisses him, making him forget Catholicism. Then the Satanists were all dying together, and the statue of a black cat would come to life,
Wow.
walking backwards with its tail erect.
Oh.
Then the initiate would have to kiss the cat on the buttocks. After that, wild homosexual orgies would ensue. Then the men would arise, shining like the sun, but his lower part would be shaggy like a cat.
Wow, that sounds like a great party.
It's like a David Lynch film.
Yeah,
Wow. That does sound pretty satanic.
that sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Sign me up.
As far as the Talmud, Pope Gregory did not steal from it. In fact, he held a mass burning of 12,000 Talmud manuscripts.
Really?
I started the Crusades. It wasn't, and the funny thing was, this is actually to his credit almost, that the idea of the Crusades was not to kill and torture people. It was the idea that people were being killed and tortured anyway over religion, and he sort of wanted to codify it and make it like, at least let's have a court, let's have a tribunal before we burn people. Old Pope Greg.
What a nice guy.
Let's have an orderly burning.
Yes, exactly. So what we do have is in order here of leaders, David Sheward with 2 points. Vicki and Moshe still to get on the board, but they haven't even gotten the question yet. That will change right now, as Vicki Quade gets her question in the Today Yesterday quiz.
Right.
2 potential points. It's a multiple choice, Vicki. The year was 1799. Debuting today at Vienna's Burg Theater, Haydn's oratorio Die Schöpfung. What is the closest English translation to that title? A, the creation, B, the spring, C, the farewell, D, the miracle.
What is it again in Italian?
It's Haydn's oratorio Die Schöpfung.
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 Schöpfung. I get my Chinese food from them all the time.
Ah,
Schöpfung.
Can you spell that?
Ah,
I can. S-C-H, O with an umlaut, P-F-U-N-G.
yeah. Schöpfung.
And what are the options?
A, the creation, B, the spring, C, the farewell, D, the miracle.
I'm going to say the spring.
Is that your final answer?
Yeah, whatever.
Well, I'm very sorry to take a spring out of your step, Vicki, but that is not the correct answer.
Yeah, no
I
kidding.
was thinking of the spring too, but whatever.
Well, now David or Moshe can get a steal opportunity if I roll one of their numbers. Go figure, I'm rolling 6s when Leslie's not here, and that's a 4. Oh, David Sheward, I just came up with a 3.
okay. Now, Vicki said spring.
Vicki said spring, which was incorrect.
And
Okay.
the other options were again?
Okay, creation, farewell, or miracle. And how do you spell ship whatever?
Oh, I gotta do it again. Do I? Capital S,
Schöpfung. Schöpfung.
H,
S-H.
O, yeah,
Schöpfung.
F-U-N-G.
Wait, S-H.
no, S-C-H.
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 Umlaut. O.
Umlaut on it, you know, the 2
Yeah.
dots.
Fung.
P-F-U-N-G.
P-F-U-N-G. P or T?
P is in Peter.
P is in Paul. So shop. So it looks like Schöpfung.
Yes, it does look like Schöpfung.
The miracle. I don't think it's. And this is in German.
It's Haydn.
It sounds pretty German.
Okay. I don't think it's farewell. I'll say miracle.
Is that your final answer?
Yes.
Well, no one is taking you on a shopping spree. That is not the correct answer. I'm
All
afraid.
right.
So,
Oh, Moshe.
I
You
get a chance. I'm
chance to
1 out of 2.
steal.
So this has always been my strategy. If I'm last, then maybe it gets down to just a 50-50. So the two things that are left are farewell and what's the other one?
the creation.
And creation.
Or the
I'm going to say creation.
Is that your final answer?
Well, at this point, yes.
Well, it's a good thing you are a creative person, Moshe Denburg, because you get 2 points. Yeah,
Excellent.
yeah.
Hallelujah.
So it's meant to be the creation or the invention in a biblical sense. Go for
Schöpfung.
oratorio.
Oh, wait. So the answer was farewell or creation?
No,
No, creation.
Oh,
Creation.
so it's A.
A is letter A is the correct
Okay.
letter of the answer.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
David and Vicki, thank you for handing me that one.
You earned it.
Hey,
It's not my superior intelligence, I assure you.
It takes as I say, it's hard to get any points in this game, and already Moishe's got 2, Vicky's got 2,
Yeah.
but Vicky's so used to.
No, I don't have to. I don't have
No,
I-
Vicki didn't get to. Vicki
I
lost
have
her.
nothing.
I'm so sorry. David got 2. I'm forgive me, but
No,
Vicky,
that's okay.
you never know.
That's all right. Rub it in. That's fine.
You know what? It takes a sense of humor, Vicki. That's what it takes here, you know?
That's
Okay,
more-
Dave, it's my turn.
It is. So you can actually take the lead if you get these points.
Tell me, is there any time or is there any rule that gets you 1 point out of the 2?
Oh, we did last week. There was a question that had a possibility of
question.
multiple answers.
Yeah. Oh, I
So-
hate that. Oh, that killed me. And I think this week there may be a 1-pointer with another 1-pointer.
Okay,
All right.
I was just curious. I mean, we have 2 points every time, but okay, I get it.
Nope.
Here we go. The year in this multiple choice question that is worth 2 points, and they're not giving you them for free as you asked for. You have to answer the question correctly. 1919 was the year, Moshe. The surrealistic literary magazine Littérature is published today in France by poets André Breton, Philippe Soupon, and Louis Aragon. Which of these is false about the surrealist movement?
Oh.
I had a surrealist movement this morning, and I'm still wiping. A, the epitaph on Man Ray's headstone reads, "Unconcerned but not indifferent." B, after publishing his surrealist manifesto, André Breton got into a fistfight with another surrealist for publishing his own surrealist manifesto at the same time. C, Sigmund Freud once criticized the surrealists by saying what was interesting about them was not unconscious id, but their conscious ego. Or D, Guillaume Apollinaire was nicknamed the Pope of Surrealism, a term he coined himself.
Okay, this is quite complex, but let's first of all, go over the names of these poets.
You're going to make me say them again. And but remember, these are all true except one. One of these.
Oh, only one
one
is
is false.
only one is false, and I have to ascertain which one is false.
Exactly.
Yes.
Okay, all right. The names of the poets again, quickly, Dave.
Well, the founders of Littérature magazine on this date were
Littérature,
literature, but they have an accent on the E.
littérature. Okay,
Littérature. There's an accent on the friggin' E.
Really?
I didn't put it
Littérature.
there. They put it there. It's a surrealist magazine. Was it the accent should have been on the L? André Breton, Philippe Soupon, and Louis Aragon. They founded this surrealist magazine.
Three guys.
Yeah. Yes.
Littérature.
Now, one of these is false about the whole surrealist movement. A, the epitaph on Man Ray's headstone reads, quote, "Unconcerned but not indifferent." B, after publishing his surrealist manifesto, André Breton got into a fistfight with another surrealist for publishing his own surrealist manifesto at the same time. C, Sigmund Freud once criticized the surrealists by saying what was interesting about them was not their unconscious id, but their conscious ego. Or Guillaume Apollinaire was nicknamed the Pope of Surrealism, a term he coined himself.
Guillaume, what's his last name? Guillaume what?
Apollinaire.
Apollinaire. And the first one was, what's the name of the person who had that epitaph?
Man Ray.
Man Ray. And
Man
what
Ray.
was his epitaph?
Quote, unconcerned, but not indifferent.
And which of these is false?
So one of them is
One
false.
is not true. Correct.
Okay.
All the rest are
The-
true.
Yeah, I think that the Freud is okay, and the fist fight seems a bit right. Getting hot headed. The last one again. So there's this epitaph. I'm concerned, but not indifferent. And the last one, Dave, was what again?
Guillaume Apollinaire was nicknamed the Pope of Surrealism, a term he coined himself.
Okay, so I'd say number one, the epitaph is false.
Is that your final answer?
That's about all I can think of. Yeah.
Well, I would love to give you a ray of light for having a correct answer, but no, that is on Man Ray's headstone. Man Ray, I guess you never heard of him, but he was a painter and
Photographer.
filmmaker, photographer mostly. He worked with Louis
Right,
Manuel on
famous.
films.
Surrealist. What
Yeah.
was he? Was he a
Yeah.
surrealist?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna roll a die. We have a steal opportunity. And no, number 5 is Moshe. That won't work. Number 5 is Moshe. That won't work.
Why do you take the one that's closest? But it doesn't matter.
We used to do
don't
that.
go there. Don't go there.
Don't ask.
It got to, an argument over should it be closest this way or that way, or
That's right. No, that's a problem.
Things got in
Yeah.
between. We don't want to. But we hit exactly a number 3, David
Oh,
Sheward.
David,
I think
Oh.
David's going to get this one. Come on, David, hit us
You
with
wanna
it.
see?
do it, David.
This is me. This is my Man Ray outfit.
That's a Ray Charles outfit, more like.
That was me as a Man Ray photograph. All right. So which of these is false? The fist fight. Freud said that it was their ego, not their id, or Apollinaire was known as the Pope of Surrealism.
Right. Those.
I think that's true about the Pope of Surrealism, because that's not crazy enough for you to make up. It's kind of mundane. And there was two of them had published a treatise on the same day, and they got into a fist fight. Or was it Freud? I don't know.
It's a tough one. They all sound plausible, don't they, David?
Yeah. I'm gonna go with the fist fight is false.
Is that your final answer?
Yes.
Pow! You're wrong. That really did happen. It was two surrealists. A guy named Ivan Gol, which is actually an Israeli guy, and he came on and he literally Surrealist Manifesto around the same time as Breton.
Oh.
So that really
Okay.
happened.
Say he was Israeli?
Yeah, I think he came.
Well, at that time, Israel
It would've
didn't
been-
exist
it would've
yet.
been-
It was still Palestine. We're even
It would've been
Palestinian, a Palestinian Jew.
Jewy.
Okay, well, Vicki, you got a golden opportunity here.
That doesn't mean anything. So it's either Freud or the Pope.
Right.
It
would be not Gregory, but the Pope
Right.
of Surrealism.
I'll go with Freud.
Is that your final answer?
Total guess, sure.
Well, Vicki, if I look deep into your dreams and your psyche, and I try to find 2 points there, I can't give them to you because I
No.
stumped the panel on this.
It's the Pope.
It was the Pope. Here's the deal.
So he didn't have that kind of ego, David, you see?
No, Breton was the Pope of Surrealism, but and many say his death in 1966 signaled the movements, and some say I think when Salvador Dali died, like 20 years later. But that was he was, and he didn't give himself that title. That's what they called him.
So the falseness is that he didn't give himself the title.
And it was also not
In the wrong name.
It was Breton, not Apollinaire.
Berthold, not Apollinaire. Right. All right, that was a toughie. We all missed it.
That was a good one.
Well,
Okay.
no. So our pattern so far is DAD. So we'll see if that holds.
You are following patterns. Oh, that's cheating, David.
No, it's not.
I'm only kidding
The
you.
man who asked for 2 points before we even started is calling out cheating.
Oh, I have to tell, just related to that, the Oscars are coming up a week from Sunday.
Yeah, a week from Sunday. Yeah.
And I would always, quite often, I would go to a Oscar viewing party, and the host would hand out ballots of all the categories, and whoever got the most right, and you would put in like $5 or whatever, and whoever got the most right would win the whole pot.
Yeah.
And so after they started showing the short subjects and the short films, the animated shorts and the documentary shorts in theaters, I would go to see them, because I was curious and I wanted to know. And so through the thing, I would, and the other guests, I would say, I did see the animated shorts and the documentary shorts and all that. And they said, oh, that's cheating. You shouldn't be involved in this. This is so unfair. And I said, look, they're playing in the movie theater, like 2 blocks from here. If you knew that we were having a party, you knew the rules, all you had, that's I'm prepared.
I justify you, David. I justify you. I was only kibitzing.
Yeah, no, I know, but I'm just saying it's a related story.
This is Dave's gone by. If you don't kibitz here, where are you going to kibitz?
Oh, no, I'm just saying it's interesting that...
No, absolutely.
Academy voters, let's say. I mean, that would already be sort of like, you go to Academy, well, who did you vote for?
Right.
Well, excuse me, it was A before. I can't do A again.
But
anyway, we, at the end of the first round of our Today, Yesterday trivia quiz, we have a tie between David Sheward and Moshe Denburg, but Vicki only 2 points away from being tied herself.
You could take it over in a heartbeat, Vicki.
I can.
But here's the deal. This first question of the second round comes directly to David Sheward.
Okay.
And David, I know you love these.
All right, go ahead. It's the
3 clues in the news.
Clues in the news.
All right.
Yes, indeed.
Okay.
Are you ready? So these are 3 words that are not related to, or words or phrases that are not related to each other, but they are in some way related to the word you're looking for. That might be
right,
blank or that blank, or just a word that brings up the word you're looking for. Ready?
Okay. Ready.
Feelings, 9-inch nails, butt. B-U-T-T.
B-U-T, butt.
B-U-T-T.
Oh, B-U-T-T, a butt, like a derriere.
Okay. So feelings, 9-inch nails, and butt.
Yes.
It's related to something in the news, Dave?
That is correct.
Okay. A couple of things come to mind. I don't know how they're related to what's happening in the news. I mean, there's raw, but a raw butt sounds like a porn film. It could be naked. And I know there's a group called 9-inch Nails, but I'm not.
Yeah, that's right.
But I'm not familiar with them, with their repertoire, what their songs are called. So, and feelings.
That's also a song.
Yes. All right, I'm just gonna say naked.
Is that your final answer?
Yes.
Well, although you're naked under those pajamas, David Sheward, that is not the correct answer, the word that we're looking for.
All right.
It's roll a die time. There was a 6. There was a 5, which is Moshe. Moshe, do you have any idea?
In other words, I have to come up with a word that fits all of these other things and that is somehow related to the news. I have no idea what the news is, but so let me see. There's feelings, butt, and 9-inch nails. Colored feelings, colored 9-inch nails. No, 9-inch nails, sharp feelings, sharp. No, not a sharp butt. Big. How about big? I don't know what would big be in the news. This is what I don't know. What is the connection with the news? But as far as
in the news this week.
This week, something happened in the news this week. Well, I mean, I'm following the Ukraine. Who isn't? But what could that be? I don't want to take your whole day, but let me see if I can come up with something if you give me 30 more seconds or something.
Prop. Yeah.
What? That's your prop.
That's our prop. Yes.
That's cute. All right, I'm going to say colored feelings, colored 9-inch, colored, but no, it doesn't make sense. I'll use the word big. Big.
Is that your final answer?
I'm afraid so.
I like big butts and I cannot lie, but that is wrong. So, Vicki, you have.
Oh, yeah, this is not going to work out, but I can tell you that right now. So I'm thinking things like, there's smoke butt. You can make smoke butt. That's a dish.
Oh, yes, okay. I was wondering. Yes, okay.
But that doesn't fit.
Painful.
A butt, like to butt out or something like a
butt out or
what happened?
And I thought
went dark all of a sudden.
You know what?
Whoa, what the hell?
We had a power out just now.
Oh.
Are
The
you okay?
computer is on its own battery, and it seems that the Wi-Fi is still working, but there's been a power out
Thank
here.
goodness. I was afraid the Russians had attacked.
No one can afford you in
Right.
California right now. That's the problem.
All right, sorry, just continue. If my computer goes out of power, I'll be out of it. But it has a full battery right now. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Sorry.
No. I hope-
So I was thinking feelings, bad feelings, but then bad inch nails or bad butt. I don't.
Bad butt, right?
Bad butt, right? I guess the 9-inch nails is the one that's interesting. Song,
She did pick
feeling,
number 2.
song, butt song, but that doesn't make a song. But bend, feelings, bend over. Dolly Parton. Fame. I was thinking fame because they're all feelings, a song,
That's a hard one, David. I don't
That's
know.
what she said. Okay.
yeah. Feelings.
Ooh.
Hard.
I got some power back, but just a second.
Yeah, I saw that.
Hard feelings, hard butt. Hard. I'm gonna say hard.
Oh.
In fact,
Oh. Interesting.
It looks like Moshe is in the.
Oh, he got it back on. Good.
there we go.
Yeah.
Let's get a little light on the subject. That was a very good guess.
What did Vicki guess? I didn't hear.
Hard. Hard feelings, hard 9-inch nails, but then hard butt didn't work.
Hard butt. It's like,
So, oh my God, I stumped the panel
Is it
again
like
on this
Trent
one.
Reznor?
What
you
is it?
definitely did.
So what is maybe the second most famous song by Trent Reznor and 9-inch Nails? No, the other one.
I think of Jane's Addiction. I don't know.
Oh, it's actually the word that we're looking for from Feelings, 9-inch Nails, and Butt is hurt.
Oh, Johnny.
Oh.
Yeah.
Hurt butt?
Hurt butt?
Butt hurt.
Butt
You know
hurt?
The phrase butt hurt.
Butt hurt? I would never
Well,
think of that.
Kind
My
of.
butt hurts, but
Oh,
what's
William Hurt. William
William.
Hurt.
William Hurt. Got it. Yeah.
wait a
He
second.
What?
What? Explain.
Well, first of all,
William
we
Hurt
said
died.
butt hurt. What? Yeah.
He died.
William
But
Hurt
the
died.
butt, it's the butt hurt that we don't get, but
Oh, you never heard that phrase. Okay.
I've heard it, but I didn't think it was like
Why would that be connected with William Hurt's passing away?
no.
his last name was Hurt. That's his last
Well,
name was Hurt.
The clues all relate to one word.
Hurt.
That word relates to something else. So
Ah,
hurt butt has nothing to do with William Hurt. It's just the word hurt.
Except that's what he
and
died.
but
of.
hurt, the 9-inch nails hurt
Yeah,
because
that's one of their
somebody
songs.
can hurt you with the 9-inch nails and hurt feelings. Of course, that makes sense. But hurt butt, I wouldn't have thought of it.
I never
I
heard
wouldn't have thought of it in a million years.
You know the Johnny Cash song "Hurt"? It was written by
Yes,
Trent
it
Reznor
was-
of 9-inch
yeah.
Nails.
Yeah.
And so they wrote a song called "Hurt." It was
Yeah.
it's a great song. It's a very popular
Uh-huh.
song. Johnny Cash made it even more popular, good for a more
Right.
diverse audience. So
Dave?
that's "Hurt." What, Moshe?
This is becoming more esoteric.
That's
It's
the
too
nature.
esoteric.
That's the nature of the thing.
Yes.
Okay, I'll acquiesce. I will
That's-
comply.
That's the
Dave,
title.
you're a Dave, you're a genius. You're a
That's-
genius.
Thank you. But all right.
That's the title of my new book, The Nature of the Thing.
That's good. That's good.
That's really good.
That's
I
good.
was getting close with hard. I was getting very close with hard.
Yeah.
I just thought,
Yeah,
one
you know
more.
what, Vicki, you came closer than anyone else. I believe that Vicki should be getting 1 point for her answer.
No,
Okay,
no.
No.
Here we go.
I'm gonna earn it.
Speaking of Vicki, Vicki gets this next question directly. We go back
Oh,
to
dear.
not an easy one at all. It's a multiple choice, and we go to 1928. Debuting today on the NBC Blue Network is Amos and Andy, starring Freeman Gosden and Charles Carell. The radio show in various forms lasted until November 1960.
Wow.
In between, there was one movie, Check and Double Check, and a TV series which featured black actors Alvin Childress and Spencer Williams with Tim Moore as Kingfish. Which of these was not the title of an episode of the Amos and Andy show on TV?
On
Which
TV.
is not, which is false, which was not a title.
Not a title. Go ahead.
A, hospitalization. B, the Kingfish becomes a press agent. C, Viva la France. Or D, the end of disemployment.
Wow.
The end of disemployment.
Yes.
Is it disemployment?
One word.
Okay.
Disemployment. Yeah.
Solamente una palabra.
Or Viva la France.
Or hospitalization, or the Kingfish becomes a press agent.
Isn't it kingfish a bug?
Hospitalization.
Is that your final answer?
Yeah, sure.
Well, Vicki, I'm just sick about that answer. I'm afraid that is not correct. So we're going to roll the die and see who gets a chance to steal. Number one.
Who won last week?
Did Leslie win? Or
Leslie won.
so Moshe.
Yeah.
Moshe. I come up with a number 5 there. Now,
All right, a number 5. I remember seeing them once in a while when I was a kid. You
Careful.
know?
I know.
Careful about, whatever.
It's just a question. It's just a
Go ahead.
question there.
ahead.
Moshe, you have a chance to steal here. B, the Kingfish becomes a press agent. C, Viva la France. D, the end of disemployment. One of them is not an actual title from an episode of the Amos and Andy TV show.
I'm going to say Viva la France has got to be an episode. It's got to be an episode. I mean, it's the funniest thing in America, is to joke around about, French and, and Europe and stuff like that. Fine. The other two are, what is it? The end of disemployment, and the other one, Dave?
The Kingfish becomes a press agent.
Kingfish becomes a press. What is a kingfish?
That's the character.
Oh, the character becomes a press agent. Okay, I'll say that's correct. I'll say the end of disemployment is not.
Uh-oh.
I'm probably wrong, but I'm going to say the end of disemployment was not an episode.
Is that your final answer?
I'm afraid it is.
Well, if you were playing this game for money, you would be gainfully employed right now because you just got yourself 2 points, Moshe
Excellent.
Denburg. You are in
I can't believe it! I
the
can't believe it! I'm so happy.
Yeah, Moshe, there is an episode called Kingfish Goes to Work. But and Kingfish is known for his malapropisms, which, black or white, they're actually really, really funny. But
And Viva la France for sure, yeah.
Yeah, France was real. Kingfish becomes a press agent. I thought I'd stump that one because usually, Leslie and David deal with press agents all the time, and it's such a ridiculous title. But that was real. That was an actual.
Good.
I believe, yeah. Kingfish was always getting into schemes and.
What was King? What did he do, David?
He got into schemes. He thought he was this big important guy, and
that was his name, Kingfish, right?
That was his nickname. Yes.
Yeah, a nickname.
And
Anyways, I remember them very vaguely, but they were very funny, actually.
Yeah, Amos and Andy were kind of like I think Amos was a good-natured guy, and Andy was sort of like a big guy. That's all I can remember about
Like
it.
it's almost like The Odd Couple or something like that, but black.
The Kingfish really was, he took over and became kind of the main character.
Yeah,
If-
gee, I
if-
vaguely remember them, but I do remember because when I was a kid, these things were on TV and they were very funny. And they were unique because there weren't that many, black comedians that we saw on TV at that time.
But
right?
yeah,
I
the
don't wanna
irony
be
is,
racist.
the irony is that it was created by white people and the white people played it on the radio.
Really? The white people
Yeah.
played it on radio. How
Yes.
do you like that?
Yes.
That I didn't remember, David. Anyways,
And
it's nice to have an entertainment historian here. Great stuff,
And there
David.
actually was a cartoon series called Something in the Kernel or something.
Huh.
Yeah.
And then there was no reference to race at all because they were like a fox and a bear.
Oh.
Well,
And they
that's
were all-
helpful.
They did the voices. They did the voices, but
Mhm.
the white people did the voices, but the characters were like animals.
You know,
But
that's
the
a very
animals-
interesting history. Very interesting.
I never saw that, David. Were the animals, the features kind of like big white lips or
No,
was
not
it just a
particularly.
fox
Not particularly.
Oh, I don't know. Thank you.
And I can sort of understand if I were a black person, might be offended because the comedy is written by white people
Hang on. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
performed by white people on the radio for like 40 years.
Well, look at like Sanford and Son. and-
Well, in a funny way, you might say that it was a bit of an homage to the black culture because here's white people who are ruling everything, but they wanted to involve them. I mean, you could
Only
look at
on
things
television,
Yeah. in
Only on
radio, it was
television.
white
on
guys.
television.
It was
Okay.
1960.
when they had to.
Yeah.
Right.
At that point, they couldn't. It was post Eddie Cantor era.
Anyways, it's a very interesting historical anecdote. I must say, very interesting.
Well,
Okay,
hoping
I'm
this-
sorry we took the show away from Dave here.
Oh, that's fine.
You're used to it. He's
I'm
used to it.
Yeah, we did that last week too.
Every week.
You did?
So here's the deal. Moshe can gloat a little bit because he's in the lead. He's got 4 points to Vicky.
Wow.
And Vicky not quite on the board yet. But
My aim every time here, Dave, is just to get at least 2 points. You know,
Uh-huh.
Oh, now.
and then I don't have to sulk for the next 2 months until I come and join you again. Vicky, I'm rooting for you. I'm rooting for you.
Thank you. Thank
here's
you,
the
Moshe.
deal.
I'm
It's
rooting for
David
you.
Who can steal now? It's David. Not steal. It's David who can tie the game.
Wait a second, it's my turn.
It's Moshe's turn.
Yeah, it's Moshe's turn.
I'm so sorry. I'm very, very sorry. Moshe, the exact opposite. You can really take a commanding lead.
I can actually move ahead like the hare against the tortoise.
That's right. Let's see if you can with this multiple choice question. 1931 was the year. Place your bets, ladies and gentlemen. Nevada legalizes gambling today. So, which of these is false about Las Vegas? A, prostitution is illegal there. B, in 2012, a customer eating at the famed Heart Attack Grill had a heart attack. C, the Flamingo Casino got its name when owner Frank Rosenthal said he wanted the building to stand out from nearby hotels, quote, like a flamingo would stand out in a flock of pigeons. Or D, in 1980, workers were suspended from a Las Vegas hospital for betting on when patients would die. All of these are
These are very interesting. All of them are interesting, you know.
All are true. We had to pick out the false one.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
right.
Moshe's question.
Okay, so basically the first one was prostitution was illegal or legal.
Here's the choices again. One of these is false. Prostitution is illegal there.
Is legal or
Is
illegal?
illegal in Las Vegas. You're talking about today, contemporarily.
B, in 2012, a customer eating at the famed Heart Attack Grill had a heart attack. C, the Flamingo Casino got its name when owner Frank Rosenthal said he wanted the building to stand out from nearby hotels, quote, like a flamingo would stand out in a flock of pigeons. Or D, in 1980, workers were suspended from a Las Vegas hospital for betting on when patients would die.
Somehow I think that's totally true. That patience, betting on patience, you know, it's so vulgar, but it's so, you know, Vegas, you know, and people let go of themselves and they do that sort of thing. The first one, I think that that prostitution is not legal in Vegas. So so if you said prostitution is legal, I say that that's the false one.
But he said it was illegal. He said it was
Oh,
illegal.
he said it was illegal. Oh, so that would be true if my theory is correct. Okay, so prostitution, I'm saying, I know that certain places in Nevada you have legal prostitution, but I didn't think in Vegas. But then again, I could be wrong. If it's Nevada itself, then maybe it is legal. But the other ones, the flamingo, I like that, the flamingo. I can hear someone like Rosenthal saying something like that, you know? And I like the now someone who got a heart attack at the Heart Attack Grill, it seems like, you know, inevitable eventually somebody will have a heart attack anywhere in the McDonald's or whatever. So I thought, I don't know. You know, this is a tough one. You know, in other words, okay, so what's false then is that prostitution is illegal. It is legal in Nevada, and it would be legal in Vegas, but you probably have to do it through escort service. So I'm going to say number one is false.
Is that your final answer?
I am going for it, Dave. I'm all in.
Well, I'm afraid I have to escort you to the exit on that one. It got too tricky for you. It is legal in parts of Nevada, but in Las Vegas, prostitution.
That's what I was thinking to begin with. Why didn't I stick with it?
You overthought it. You just kind of ground into your own gears there.
Oh, yeah.
I know, Moshe. But this gives somebody a chance to really catch up in the game here. With, that's number 5. That's Moshe again. Oh, ho, ho, ho. I smell a number 2. Vicki, this is yours to steal.
Okay, so it is, can you read the flamingo one again?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I'll read all 3 remaining possibilities. B, in 2012, a customer eating at the famed Heart Attack Grill had a heart attack. C, the Flamingo Casino got its name when owner Frank Rosenthal said he wanted the building to stand out from nearby hotels, quote, like a flamingo would stand out in a flock of pigeons. Or D, in 1980, workers were suspended from a Vegas hospital, for betting on when patients would die.
That is so outrageous.
They're all so possible in my mind. They really are.
Yeah, me too.
You know what? I'm going to say the Heart Attack Grill. I'm going to say that's false.
And he didn't nobody got a heart attack there.
Or maybe it's a different year. I don't know. Go ahead.
I wouldn't go that necessarily.
No, it's not that nitpicky.
You would.
Yeah.
Thank you, David. I did when I first started the game like 3 years ago, and you're still holding my feet to the fire. But are you saying, Vicki, the Heart Attack Grill
is false?
Well, as great as it always is to meet you, Vicki. Yeah, and we'd love to put you in the paddy wagon. That is not the correct answer.
It actually was a heart attack at the Heart Attack.
David, you have a steal opportunity from the gods. From the gods.
Two possible.
Okay. All right. So my choices are the flamingo quote or the hospital bets. Which of those is false?
Correct.
Now, the flamingo one, it sounds real.
Yeah.
And so does the hospital bets one.
Yeah.
I'll bet the hospital bets really happen and the flamingo quote is not. So I'll say C is false.
I go with that too.
Is that your final answer?
Yes.
Well, sometimes, David, your answer is for the birds. But this time you take flight. You take wing.
Very good.
How do you like that? So Rosenthal didn't say that.
Nobody said that. I wrote it. What happened?
Very good, Dave.
Thank you. The urban myth is that Bugsy Siegel named the Flamingo Hotel for his girlfriend, Virginia Hill, but that's apparently not true. Really, it was named by its founding builder because he just saw flamingos as a good owner. So nothing to do with
Omen. A good owner or a good omen?
Omen.
Also, so hospital workers were suspended. Oh wait, that.
Yeah. So that's true. That's true.
If that had been the answer, we would have had 1, 2, 3, 4 Ds. So that's another reason against it.
Well,
Ay, ay, ay. You know what, David? You're playing the odds here. I like it. I
it
like it.
works. It works. By the way, just so you know, the guy who had the heart attack, he was eating something called the triple bypass burger.
Yeah.
Talk about irony.
Yeah.
I think they roll people around in the heart attack grill in wheelchairs, stuff like that. I mean, it's so freaking American. It's incredible.
Yes.
Yeah.
And 2 months after that guy had his thing, a woman eating the double bypass burger also had a heart attack.
Really,
God.
really.
Do they have like insurance policies at the door?
I think you probably have to sign a thing like,
Yeah.
I know that.
Yes.
You've seen the
I-
pictures. They actually the waitresses or the servers they're dressed as nurses, right?
Yes, that's not a joke.
Are they really?
Yeah, they're dressed as nurses. The whole
And,
thing is like,
I bet
Yeah.
they do have to sign something saying I fully acknowledge that I am taking the risk by eating
it's
this.
like
food.
cholesterol from
my
hell.
No one is forcing me to do this, and I do not hold the restaurant responsible.
I bet you they have to write it. They have to sign a disclaimer. I believe if I was owning that business, I'd ask them to.
Well done, David Sheward. By the way, David, you are tied now with Moshe with 4 points. Vicky not yet on the board, but we've got a game here. Oh my goodness, as we move to round 3 of our.
I could be the spoiler. That's my job.
Well, hey, you can still win.
No, you can always win. All you need is a steal and a win. That's all you need.
And that's a tie.
You have a tie by the end of regulation.
But then there's a tiebreaker. He does a tiebreaker. You know?
I don't get those either.
Well, we'll see. Now, this first question, though, goes to David.
Yeah, David's
on
turn.
round. And what Moshe was talking about before is this is a 2-pointer, but it can be sort of divided here. All right, so here it is.
Explain.
The year was 1945. On this date, during World War II, a world leader issues the Nero Decree. For 1 point, who is the leader? And for the second point, in your own words, what was it about?
Oh.
So if you get partial right, you can get 1 point. And then someone else
The
gets
Nero Decree.
the Nero Decree.
Never heard of it.
Now, this is a world leader in 1945.
Yeah.
Issues,
Okay.
what, is there a date in 1945 before the war ends?
19th.
March 19th, of course. Of course.
Okay. All right. The only thing I can think of, I'm going to guess. I mean, I have the Nero Decree. I've never heard of it. I'm just going to guess Mussolini.
I was going to guess that.
I'll say
me
that,
too.
and the Nero Decree is, I can do anything I want to, just like the Nero.
Yeah, you can fiddle and Rome will burn. It's exactly what I was thinking, David.
Wow, that's a great Mussolini
His
impression.
Italian accent is,
Measurement. Is that your final answer?
Yes.
Well, I'm afraid you've made a mess, Alini. I can't give you any points for that.
Okay.
We have a steal
All right.
opportunity.
I'm surprised, David, because that's exactly what I was thinking.
Well, we don't necessarily get to know what you're thinking, Moshe, because Vicky has the steal opportunity on this.
Oh, good.
Go.
All right. Yeah, right. March of 1945, the Nero Decree.
Who is the world leader?
Right. Who decreed it and what was it about, in your words?
Well, by 45, was Roosevelt dead? Was it Truman by 45?
Yeah, it was Truman. I think Roosevelt passed away.
No help,
Wait a
no
second.
help.
Roosevelt passed away in April, I think.
No help.
April 45, just before the end of the war, something like that, eh? I don't think he was dead yet, March 19th. I shouldn't talk.
But
That's
you
what I
weren't
think.
feeling it all well. No.
That's all right.
No, he wasn't.
Okay, so the Nero Decree. March, and we're assuming it's related to World War II. All right. Well, you know what? Maybe it was Stalin. Okay, I'm going to say Stalin. And I'm going to say that it related to the breakup of Europe, the countries that would ultimately go to the Soviet Union. That's what I'm going to say.
Is that your final answer?
Yeah.
Well, I guess you were rushing to a conclusion because that is a great guess, but not the correct answer, I'm afraid. So, this is interesting. Moshe, you can take
Come
the.
on,
You know
Moshe.
what? Come to think of it, I think, let me see. Now, Roosevelt did get elected 4 times, but he passed away very early in his last term, just before the war ended. And so that's why I say that he was already inaugurated in 45, because the election was in 44. And he was very ill, and, and he passed away. So it could be, I'm going to go with FDR. And it was about that, I don't know, that they would
Invading.
they would not interfere with the Italians taking care of Mussolini in any way they wanted. I don't know. That's what I'm going to say.
Is that your final?
I'm going to go with FDR and that stupid thing. Yeah, that's my final answer.
Well, to be frank, or Franklin, that is not the correct answer either.
No.
I stumped
I bet it has nothing to do with the war.
No, and if you're ready, here's the
The world
March
leader.
1945, a little fellow you may have heard of named Adolf Hitler
Uh-huh.
made the Nero Decree, and the idea was all the Reich territory that the Germans had in France and places like that, he was going to do a Sherman's March kind of thing and just burn everything, leave nothing for the Allies.
Oh.
To burn it all while he's going to fiddle while Rome burns.
Yes,
Yeah,
I-
that
You know,
makes sense.
And Albert,
who would have thought of Hitler in that? I was thinking of something much more benign.
Yeah.
it was a World War II leader. It was Hitler and Nero. Nero's like
Yeah.
A leader. He was he you know what? In 1 month, or just about 1 month, I think Hitler, was dead.
Yeah,
right?
this was before. In fact, when he made that decree, people around him started realizing he was insane. And Albert.
Well,
Speer,
at that point, for sure, he was insane to begin with. But at any rate,
but
he was certified. He was certified insane by a lot of people around at that point.
Yeah, and it was because of this guy with him, Albert Speer, who was later on. I think
Speer. Yeah.
Yeah, he. If it weren't for him, we probably would have burned down the Eiffel Tower and places in France. And he just sort of worked against Hitler to say, no, we're not going to burn France and these places down.
Yeah, I thought they already kicked everybody out, but I suppose there's still German troops there that could have had a scorched earth policy. Yeah.
They didn't. And that's
Very interesting, Dave. Now, you know what? I'm not getting up any points, but it's a very interesting stuff that you're bringing up here, Dave. Thank you.
That's the game. The Today Yesterday quiz, and thank you, Moshe. You don't get any points for flattering me.
Damn it!
Trying.
I gotta try.
Brown nose.
So here's
Right.
Now, Vicki, it's coming.
Oh no, really?
Yeah, Vicki. This is
another question I can miss.
And guess what, Vicki?
Oh no, it's 3 clues in the news.
Yes, it is 3 clues in the news. Here we go.
We have another one.
Go ahead, do it.
Okay.
Something happened in this. There's a word related to it.
Yeah.
And then these 3 words are related to that word. Are you ready?
I am.
Dance. Post. Times.
So I was thinking recital. That's the first thing that came in my head. Times. New York Post. I was saying
New York Post. And what's the first one?
It's dance. Post. Times.
I'll just say New York.
Is that your?
Sure. Why not? Not the one to lose.
New York Dance.
Well, New York Post and New York Times are that does work, but not
New York Dance.
Yeah.
Well, the dance company, it could.
It could. No. But nice try. So here's the deal. Frank, Vicki, you're not going to win this particular game.
No.
Who's gonna get the? Because it's a real battle royale.
But I'm the helper. See, if the one by losing, I make it easier for
Yeah, so we know
someone
it's
to
not
win.
New York.
So David Sheward,
Yes.
what word are we looking for?
All right, let's see. Times, post, and dance. Post-op, times, times. What's going on this week? Missiles, masks, dance.
Dance is the first one, right?
Yeah,
Dance.
dance. Times, dance. I don't know. Dance.
Is it
Post-op, post,
I can't.
post, war, war.
Is that your final answer?
Yeah.
Because post-war and war dance are real good, but war just no, not quite. Good answers, but not the correct ones. Moshe, you can take.
Come on,
the lead.
Moshe.
I'm thinking Last Dance, Last Post, which is a the Last Post is a
And Last
universal,
Times?
and then the Last Times, which is like the end of times, or the last times. Last sounds good, but I don't know whether it's really going to fit with last, and what's the news? The last, I mean, obviously there's Last Post, someone died, and Last Times is like the end of times, war, and Last Dance. Last Dance. Gee, it's tough. This is tough. Last is the only thing that really that sticks in my head.
We'll go with that.
Okay, thank you. Last, thank you for prodding me. We'll go on with the game. Last is my word.
Is that your last answer?
Yeah, the last one. Yep.
Oh, I'm stumped everyone again. And this was really a New Yorkie question. I thought maybe David would get this one. I'm not sure if this news traveled that far into Chicago and California, but here's the deal. The words were dance, post, times, and the word we're looking for, modern.
Oh, modern dance.
Modern dance, modern post,
Postmodern.
postmodern, and modern times.
With
That's a
Charlie
good one.
Chaplin.
Yeah.
Relating to?
Related to, David, do you remember?
Oh, the museum, something with the museum. Oh, somebody got slashed at the Museum of Modern Art.
Right, two people. This crazy guy was.
Oh, that's right. He went and stabbed people.
He stabbed people at the Museum of
Because they
Modern
wouldn't
Art.
let it, because his membership lapsed or something.
Yeah. Oh, he was upset about something. Yeah, I heard about it in the news, but couldn't think of MoMA.
Oh, that's a good one, Dave.
Dave, I have to correct you. I'm not California. I'm British Columbia. I'm on the coast. Yeah, I'm on the coast. There's California. Now look at your geography. There's California. There's Oregon. There's Washington State, and there's British Columbia, where Vancouver is.
Say the word about, please. Can you say
About.
Oh, no, you're American. No, sorry. No.
I'm not American. About. I don't say about. I say about.
Boot.
That's fine. If you're not
A
American.
boot. No, that sounds more Irish to me. A boot.
A boot. Tell me about it. So, anywho, we have we still have, I think, a tie game between David Sheward and Moshe Denburg here on our Today Yesterday quiz, live on this Saturday morning, March 19th, 2022. This question, though, goes to you, Moshe. So if you get this question right,
Come on, Moshe.
you win the game. And it's a multiple choice.
Come on.
Are you ready?
I'll try, Vicki. I'll give it my best shot.
You do
March
it.
19th, 2019.
19.
Yeah. Karen Uhlenbeck, a professor at the University of Texas at Austin, becomes the first and still only woman to win Norway's Abel Prize for outstanding work in mathematics. She won it, quote, for her pioneering achievements in geometric partial differential equations, gauge theory, and integrable systems, unquote. But you already knew that.
Yes.
Oh, of course.
As for
I
other,
read that every day, every day.
well, all the other winners of the Abel Prize were men. It was founded in 2003. They won for other reasons. Which of these is not an explanation for an Abel Award?
Okay.
A, for stunning proof of Fermat's last theorem by way of modularity conjecture opening a new era in number theory. B, for pioneering the use of diagram chasing and functors to create complex projective space. C, for profound achievements in algebra. Or D, for fundamental contributions to dynamical systems, ergodic theory, and mathematical physics.
This is about this is fantastic stuff.
Yes.
You know what? I'm going to go with the one thing that seems so, innocuous, the algebra. So, because that sticks out, the algebra. Well, it's not crazy enough. It's not arcane enough. You got to be able to be incredibly arcane and crazy. Now, David, don't tell me, but you're already following the pattern here, which was probably, you should win an Abel Award for following the patterns. But I'm going to go with the algebra is not an Abel Award, okay?
Is that your final answer?
Yeah, I'm going to go with it, Dave. Come on.
Well, I'm afraid that doesn't add up. I threw
Oh,
that.
yeah.
It is real. It was, the whole point was
Sorry.
that one was a kind of a fooler. It was, somebody did win just for algebra. I'm going to roll the die. So, Vicki, for funsies, you can be a spoiler here and take us to like a tiebreaker.
You do know, I feel terrible about this because I don't have the answer. It's going to be a guess. But my son, David, has a PhD in mathematics, and he would know this like in a heartbeat.
Wow.
Give him a call. You're allowed to give a call. You're allowed to make one call.
That's another show.
Yeah.
Exactly. So read them again, because I had kind of an idea.
You're going to make me read them again. All right, here we go.
Sorry.
One of these was not the reason someone
Right.
won an Abel Award.
Right.
Is it A, for stunning proof of Fermat's last theorem by way of modularity conjecture, opening a new era in number theory?
Mm-hmm.
B, for pioneering the use of diagram chasing and functors to create complex projective space? Or D, for fundamental contributions to dynamical systems, ergodic theory, and mathematical physics?
I'm going to say the second one.
You're going to say for pioneering the use of diagram chasing and functors to create complex projective space. Is
Yes.
not. Okay. Any particular reason you chose that one?
Tell me if it's right or not.
All right.
Good comeback. Good comeback, Vicki.
Well, last week on the program, our guest was the great George Clinton of Parliament Funkadelic. He had the funk. You got the funk. You got 2 points. You're on the board.
Yay! We're so happy for you, Vicki. We'd give you a hug in person if we were in person.
I will tell you why I answered that is because I do read and listen to what my son talks about in mathematics, and it's all obscure like that. But the funk one did not sound right.
Yeah.
But the rest of it sounded exactly like the kind of things he talks about.
Huh?
This is going to be my favorite explanation of the questions for a couple of different reasons. First of all, you are correct. Those are real mathematical phrases that I was cherry picking because there's something called abstract nonsense, which is a real mathematical thing. It's abstract nonsense, which isn't actually nonsense. It has to do with category theory. I'm gone. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
C, okay.
My son works in algebraic topology. He works in numbers theory. He works in all that.
Now, this is just a total aside, but I love this. In 2008, winning the prize for, quote, their profound achievements in algebra, and particularly in shaping modern group theory, were University of Florida's John G. Thompson and College de France's Jacques Tits.
Jacques what?
Jacques Tits.
Tits.
How do you spell that?
He has a whole Wikipedia page. He's a major scientist named Jacques
No, David,
Tits.
I believe it's Dr.
Jacques is French, but you get tits. How do you spell the tits?
If you know exactly how to spell it.
Tits. Interesting. It doesn't sound French, but
Really?
Jacques.
I would have
is.
thought they would have made it a Z or something.
No.
Tits.
And he passed just this past December. He worked on group theory. It's just if you
refer to him as Professor Dr. Tits.
Dr.
Well,
Tits.
it seems that his theory went tits up, eh?
If you want to laugh, just go to his Wikipedia page. He was a Belgian-born French mathematician who worked on group theory and incidence geometry. He introduced Tits building, the Tits alternative, the Tits group. And
Oh, he went everywhere. This guy really knew how to market himself.
And apparently there's a building named for him somewhere in Belgium. It's like the Tits Academy. I'm not sure.
The reality is that all academics are narcissists, so that's why.
Yeah. Oh my God. Anywho.
What do we do now, Dave?
We had the tiebreaker.
We have a tiebreaker. That's correct because we have.
Because we finished 3 rounds, right? And
Right.
so now we have a
At the
tiebreak.
end of regulation, we have Vicki with 2 points and David and Moshe tied with 4 points apiece. Do you all have
A piece of paper. I got to get something. I got to get.
Wikipedia page?
Hold it. I'll be right back.
You know, another of his well-known theorems is the Tits alternative. If G is a fine, I mean, it's just the beautiful thing of having to take it seriously. Yeah.
Did they ever consult with Dr.
I don't know if there was a Dr. Cox that they consulted with. They would make quite a pair, I'll tell you that. Anywho, here's how our final question, our tiebreaker works on the Today Yesterday quiz on Dave's Gone By. Everybody plays, although in this particular case, it's a real tiebreaker. So the points count for Moshe and David. It's not a multiple choice. It's a question where you have to write the answer if you know it. If you don't, make up something.
But Vicki could win it, and then we have a 3-way tie.
No, it doesn't work like that. Once we hit post-regulation.
It'll be between the two
Oh.
of you. I was just
Okay.
the spoiler.
All right.
If you guys are ready,
I'm so happy you got
Yes,
2 points.
I'm ready.
Vicki.
and you know how to do this.
On a math question. Wait till I tell my son.
We'll be very happy to hear it. Okay, go for it, Dave. I have a piece of paper.
And I'll read the question, and then you'll write, and then I'll read it again. I'll give a 3, 2, 1 countdown, and then you will hold up your answers to the camera.
Yes, sir.
Here we go. The year was 1936. Born in Switzerland, this actress was not only a Bond girl, but a Bond girl spoof in Casino Royale. She also had cinematic fun in Acapulco with Elvis Presley and in Texas with Frank Sinatra. Name that icon.
Again, please read the.
Absolutely. Born today in 1936 in Switzerland, this actress was not only a Bond girl, but a Bond girl spoof in Casino Royale. She also had cinematic fun in Acapulco with Elvis Presley and in Texas with Frank Sinatra. Name that icon.
No idea. But I got an answer.
Okay, just a second. I bet you David has got it, but it's okay. Let me think.
I
Probably
think
when
I
I
know.
heard it.
I think I know.
Hold on. What the hell was?
And now the Bond girls kick ass, man. You know, the latest movie, they were the ones who were making a big difference.
Well, everything's woke now. It's like,
Yeah.
next film will be a black transsexual Bond person. Like, you know,
Nothing wrong with
Be
that.
okay.
nothing wrong.
That would be okay. That's right.
Do I have to get both names for her, or can I just use a last name?
How do you guys?
I guess the last
Oh,
name's
I
okay.
think okay.
We'll do it.
You know what I
Allow
think?
that on Jeopardy.
A last name would be okay.
Last name.
Sure.
If they allow that on Jeopardy.
Yeah, exactly.
That's correct. All right, I'm ready.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to read the question again and give a countdown, and then everybody hold your answers to the camera. Born today in 1936 in Switzerland, this actress was not only a Bond girl, but a Bond girl spoof in Casino Royale. She also had cinematic fun in Acapulco with Elvis Presley and in Texas with Frank Sinatra. Name that icon.
I have no idea. I said Ursula Andress.
You didn't count down. You didn't count down.
Guys,
Oh, I'm sorry.
sorry.
Oh, too late.
2, 1.
One.
Sorry about that.
Oh, Anita Ekberg. You're probably right. I put Ursula Andress.
Black.
I was thinking of Honoré Black.
Oh, okay. Here's the deal. I think Ekberg was Swedish.
Oh,
Yeah.
Swiss.
And what about Honoré Black? No,
Did I get
didn't
it
she?
right?
It was not Honoré Black. Vicky,
British.
Ursula Andress. You
Did I
got
get
it.
it right?
It was Ursula Andress.
Yeah.
Ursula Andress.
That's the first thing I thought of, but I thought Ursula is the like not a Swiss name. I thought, nah.
Nope, she was Swiss and she was indoctrinated.
Look at that. Vicky
in-
takes it.
Yeah.
So-
Vicky, you could stand tall.
It's,
You could
but
stand
nobody
tall.
wins.
What was the final?
I can stand tall. Thank
What
you.
was the
And I
final
do.
outcome?
Well, the final tally is
Two,
I don't have another tiebreaker. You guys tied. We have a
Tied.
tie.
Okay.
The winner.
Shake, Dave, shake.
Yeah.
Well,
Congratulations.
congratulations to both of you. You both split the grand prize of
Nothing.
Zero of nothing.
of nothing.
Of laughter. Where we could split the grand prize of laughing with Dave's gone by.
Yes.
Right.
Moshe? Yeah. Or if Jacques Tits were here, you can each take one.
I love that name, Jacques. I'm gonna look him up. I'm gonna look him up, definitely.
Yes.
Listen, Vicky, it was so much fun being with you.
Oh, wait, let me take a picture and I'll
Oh
send it
yeah,
out.
take a
Okay,
picture.
everybody look real nicely into the camera. I'll take a couple, all right? 1, 2, 3. All right, let's see if that looks good.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
excuse me.
Yeah, maybe take one more, just for smile. Uh-oh, I think, Marcia, you moved.
I moved too much.
There we go. Well,
Thank you, Vicky. Yeah, no, thank you for taking these
I'll send you those.
the show. Before we let you go, let's let everybody know what you guys are doing. So, ladies first, Vicky, you're performing tonight, I assume, and Lady Catechism.
This weekend, yes, in the Easter Bunny Bingo is opening this weekend. But I wanted to say, I have my own game show I told you about, which I did on Wednesday. We sold out with, I had a group at the theater. It's called Are You Smarter Than Your 8th Grade Nun?
Your 8th
How
grade
did
what?
it go? Did it,
None.
It worked really
None.
well. It worked really well. I have a wheel I have one of my actresses played the nun, and she spins the wheel, and it's all questions that you would get in 8th grade.
So can people, this was not virtual, this is in real time.
It was in real time, yeah. I mean, we could do it virtually as like a show, but we have to think about that. But no, it's so,
Do you
and
have
I've
plans
already,
to do another one? Do you have plans to do another one? At
oh
the
yeah,
theater?
no, I booked it. I've been advertising it. So I've already got like 2 bookings to do it elsewhere.
So people can buy your book and they can book for that, and they can say what
I put
website?
Nuns for Fun in the chat.
There we go.
Nuns-
Close
Nuns
Encounters
for
of a
Fun.
Chicago Kindness, her book.
my
Nuns-
book, which is getting to be pretty old. It's already a year old.
Well, yeah.
Close Encounters of a Chicago Kind. So
which
there's
people
that
can
too.
buy at nunsforfun.com. Nuns for number 4 fun. Like, it's interesting. We had a filmmaker on the show earlier today, and her website is filmsforthought.com. Before you have to spell out FOR. You, it's nunsforfun.com. Moshe Denburg, you're with the
I
band
put his
Simis, and
website too.
oh yeah, and well, what can people buy? What are you up to? What are you working on?
Well, right now we're about to release an updated and remixed and remastered version of our debut CD. It was called Sweet and Hot, which got a wonderful review on NPR's All Things Considered back in '93. And we've re-released it in a remixed version. We're re-releasing it very soon. It's called Sweeter and Hotter.
Oh,
And it's by Simis. And if you want Simis, I have to write down Simis for everybody. Again.
It's an S.
What?
Yeah. TS.
No, it's Z.
Oh, it's Z.
TZ or Z in your country. Here it is. Not black eye. Simis.
Oh, there
Oh,
it is.
TZIMMES.
Yeah, that's right. TZIMMES, and put .net on it. .net, and you'll find Sweeter and Hotter is not quite out, but you'll see there links to all kinds of stuff, Jewish, our Jewish music, and also, there's other interesting things about Jewish music education.
I hear the about.
Jewish?
I heard that about.
I have, that's what my mother told me. She said, "You're Jewish, and that's all you're going to be.
Oh,
That's it."
Jewish mothers say, is it? Yeah, but you're going to be Jewish.
What did your Jewish mother tell you, Dave?
Now, David Sheward,
Yes.
you always have a busy week. I mean, not
Yes.
only are a school teacher, but you, of course, write for a couple of different websites, including Reviewing Theater. So
Yes.
what have you reviewed that we can read? And also what's on your blog?
Well, the last thing I reviewed, which is on Theater Life and Cultural Daily, was on Sugarland at New York Theater Workshop.
You
And
love that, right? You really...
I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good play, good production. I also, on my blog, have written about the Oscar-nominated films I've been seeing in my quest to see as many of the nominees as possible so I can make a prediction. So I'll be doing my Oscar predictions. I think that it's between The Power of the Dog and Coda for best film. So we'll see what happens.
Oh, is that your choice or what you predict will win?
That's my prediction. I'm not really sure what I would, if I were voting, I might vote for West Side Story or Drive My Car. I mean,
What's Coda? What's Coda about? Can you remind me?
It stands for Children of Deaf Adults, and it's about a girl who's hearing who has deaf parents and a deaf brother.
Right. I read a review about it. Yeah.
And the father in that, who is a deaf actor, will probably get Best Supporting Actor.
That's right.
Wonderful. Well, that's interesting.
And I also have on the blog about that, and also about the Carol Burnett Show. There's some episodes that are showing up on public television, actually, that have like whole episodes that have not been seen before.
Oh.
And
Well, I mean, they were originally aired, but they haven't been seen since 1970.
in their entirety. The syndication was everything was chopped up into half-hour bits, and they eliminated a lot of the material. And there was one or two that I haven't seen from the whole show. And I said, "Oh, this is really interesting. That this all this stuff we haven't seen before." And so that's when. And next week, as I said, I'm seeing the Michael Jackson musical, which I couldn't see originally because the lead was injured his foot, and I finally have been able, he's back in it, and I'm finally able to see it. And I'll see Plaza Suite. And April is coming up when it's the last month before the Tony nominations and the Drama Desk nominations, and there are dozens of openings.
Right. I mean, it's going to be like almost every day, as it usually used to be. Are you afraid of that? I mean, it's one thing to go to the theater once or twice a week with a mask on, but to sit, and I know COVID's kind of down right now, but
but in crowds, it's a bit tough. Yeah,
I'm not really concerned because everyone does have to be vaccinated to go to a show, and everybody's wearing a mask. Unlike in public, if you walk around, a lot of people are not wearing their masks.
Right. Well.
On the subway, they're wearing them. There is a variant in Europe which may come
BA2.
Yep.
We'll see what happens. I don't think it's over. I'm definitely, but I'm still going to be cautious. But I'm wearing the mask, and I still wear them. We don't have to wear our masks in school, but I'm still wearing it.
Wow.
Yeah.
About half. I'm sorry, about half of the students and most of the teachers, people are still wearing them. Some are and some aren't.
See, because I make people wear masks around me because I've got BO1. Really, it's.
That's the variant.
Dave, please. Such a nice mensch, and Reb Solomon too. Reb Sab Solomon. People have to be around people.
Uh-huh.
It was just Purim. I don't know whether you guys know about Purim, but it was Purim just a couple of days ago. Actually,
what is Purim like in Vancouver? What do you do?
I had 3 gigs. I had 3 gigs on Purim. 2 one for an old elder residence, another one for an elder care, like long-term care place, and then I had a Chabad gig. You know what Chabad? I mean, Now, as soon as Chabad is the Hasidic sort of, there's a Hasidics, there's one of the Hasidic sects or, organizations. They do a lot of work converting Jews back to Judaism type of thing.
Right.
But the interesting thing is that you see that the mitzvah, the commandment of Purim is to get drunk. You're supposed to get drunk.
Right. Yeah, true.
So as soon as I come in there with my equipment, I'm setting up, the rabbi comes to me and says, I don't want a sober musician here. And he plies me with whiskey. That was the kind of gig.
That happens to me when I'm dressed as a nun. No.
Oh my God! So you had a fun. How can you even play if you're shikker?
Oh yeah. I mean, I can go on autopilot, no problem. I wasn't that shikker, but I mean, it was, I didn't have to worry about, being criticized for not getting the right notes or something like that. I played and I sang and it was okay.
Well, that's a great Purim.
It was a good Purim.
You all had a fantastic St. Patrick's Day and Purim, and a happy upcoming beginning of spring.
Yeah, and Pesach, Passover, and Easter if you celebrate, whatever.
Right. All that's
You do a Seder
today
day?
is St. Joseph's.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's today, the 19th.
What is St. Joseph?
The feast day of St. Joseph. So
Everybody
for a
takes
lot
aspirin? What is
for
it?
a lot of people, are like, Patrick gets everything, on the 17th. So Joseph gets a little special on the 19th. It's the feast of St.
What
Joseph.
did he do? What was he?
I think a lot of people.
He was the stepfather to Jesus. It's St. Joseph.
Oh, Joseph. Of course, Joseph. Yeah.
Yeah. So you have to wear red, which unfortunately I should have worn red today, but I wore red.
Yeah, he went into serious counseling, Joseph, when somebody told him that his wife had an immaculate conception.
Oh, yeah.
That is not the Immaculate Conception.
Oh.
The Immaculate Conception is the conception of Mary in the womb of her mother in the regular way, but without original sin. What you're talking about is the virgin birth.
There's nothing.
That's the virgin birth. Sorry. You know something? Vicki, you're giving me an education here.
You come to see my shows. You'll learn a lot.
How do I pronounce your last name, Vicki?
Quade.
Quade, not Quade. Quade.
Not like the Quades, it's
Quade. Not like Quade.
Thank you.
Well,
not Quaaludes. I knew you were thinking that, David. I think that way too, Anyways, it would be nice at some point to get together in person.
Yeah.
From your mouth to God. I mean, we're all it's so great that we can get together and not be.
Yeah, that's true.
We're in all these different places. It's wonderful to have Vicki Quade, Moshe Denburg, David Sheward in the Daverhood. We're hoping we'll get Leslie Hoban Blake back for next week's game in the Today Yesterday. But I wish you all much success, a wonderful, happy spring, and a fun
you too. You take care of yourselves. Dave, thanks for having me. David, Vicki, be well.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And have a wonderful week. We'll see you.
Bye-bye. See you later.
Bye-bye.
And we're back just before noon on this Saturday morning, March 19th, 2022, here with the Dave's Gone By Facebookio Podcastio Programmio of the stream featuring me, Dave Lefkowitz, my darling and wonderful wife, Joyce. Actually, I should tell people that
I'm wishing my cousin Joseph a happy St.
Joseph's
Joseph's
Day.
Day.
Absolutely, yeah. I hope he's not Jewish, is he? No, just Marriage, Babies, and the End of the World is a book of my plays from many, many years ago. But if you want to read my plays, you can. They're free. They're on the interwebs. They're on my website, davelefkowitz.org. davelefkowitz.org. My song lyrics are there. All my, what else? Essays I've written. Tons of interviews that I've done for places like Long Island Woman and for Playbill.com. Plus my one-act plays, my full-length plays, plus my crazy fun writings and some of the rabbi stuff as well. We keep putting more and more on, and a couple of hundred theater reviews.
You haven't had a tie in a long time.
Yeah, and so check that out, davelefkowitz.org for all my written work as opposed to davesgoneby.com for archives of this program, Dave's Gone By, which again,
Show them also also this lovely.
Oh, well, that too. And don't forget that, and actually, here's the latest issue. It's beautiful. It came out beautifully.
I love the color. It's gorgeous. Is that the
Wait,
cover?
no, I put it in. Here it is. This is the March issue of Performing Arts Insider. Of
Oh, wow.
so Broadway show revival of Neil Simon's Plaza Suite, an off-Broadway show at the public called The Chinese Lady,
It's very pretty.
all in Performing Arts Insider. Again, I'm not doing a commercial. I'm just saying this is my side hustle. This is my job that I publish and edit.
It's the journal
Performing
that
Arts
never
Insider
ends.
magazine. Yeah. Anyway, Hon, are you feeling? We have still so much to do. We have our
My
Colorado
veins
Limerick of the
even
Damned.
are, like, bad.
So I played Rabbi Saul doing his rabbinical
Really crimes
reflection.
and all times, honey, right?
Greeley Crimes and Old Times. So here's the deal. The Greeley Tribune newspaper, which has been published for well over 100 years, has 2 columns in it every week. And they're intentionally amusing, even though they're based on real things. One column is called Cop Log, about phone calls that come into the Greeley, Colorado Police Dispatch from people seeing weird things in the neighborhood and wanting to warn the cops about it and get police over there. But these are sometimes the people calling are weirder than the things they're reporting. And 100 years ago, where our friend Mike Peters goes through the newspapers there from 100 years ago, back in 1922, and picks out the things that we would find most nostalgic or amusing 10 decades later. We mix them up in this segment called Greeley Crimes and Old Times. La 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 la! Fiddly out indeed, we Greeley Crimes and Old Times on this March 19th, 2022 episode of Dave's Gone By with me, Dave Lefkowitz. So yeah, we're just gonna give you some items. Here we go. Are you ready, babe? Are you ready with the phone and everything else? Because oh my God, we get first thing that happens. We read about a crime that was mentioned in the public records of the newspaper, in the Greeley Tribune, and so many phone calls come in to the dispatch. Like I'm waiting for a call now, possibly from 22nd Street. Oh, I think I hear one.
Oh, that's so nice.
What?
Oh,
This has nothing to do with the phone call. What is it?
Joseph is a grandpa.
Oh, McMazel McGlick. Joyce wished her cousin Joseph a happy St. Joseph's Day, and it turns out his offspring had an offspring. So he's offsprung. Mazel tov. That's great. Anyway, meanwhile, I'm going to take this phone call.
8 pounds, 8 ounces. It's like eighth and eighth. Michael Allen, it's a boy.
Yeah, well, could be.
It's a boy.
Yay. A caller on 22nd Street reported, hello, yes, we're already taking the call, reported 2 men going door to door asking for a ride to McDonald's. Would you, if someone asked you, hey, can you drive us to McDonald's? Would you, if you drove, would you take them there? I think not. Maybe Wendy's.
They're probably high.
I would take them to
think they're
Whataburger.
high. I mean, that would be my
Yeah, probably best that they didn't drive themselves. Now, a man on 16th Street said, he didn't call, he apparently just said, that he saw 10 to 15 people were after him, and that he wasn't imagining it. Okay? He said they were playing loud music and waiting for him to be released from the emergency room.
Okay.
So, I don't know, it's sort of like they're after him, he escapes or something, he's got something going on in the emergency room, but he's afraid to come out.
I think that's called paranoia.
I think that's called the drugs that the first people were taking.
Can I quote Ozzy Osbourne? Paranoia will destroy you.
Now, you mentioned
I feel bad
eighth.
for him. That's horrible. Yeah, the
Yeah.
baby was 8 pounds, 8 ounces, so that's eighth and eighth.
That's 8th and 8th. We have a partial of that. We have something that happened on 8th Avenue. A woman there said she heard. Ooh. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Whoa. No, we'll get maybe the FBI on this. She said she heard Weld County say they put a bomb in her apartment because Weld County talks trash like that.
You know who did it? The 10 people who were chasing the other guy and they got bored.
Actually, no. She has a better idea.
Okay.
She believed that the bomb
Yeah.
was already placed in her apartment.
Yeah.
by former President Donald Trump.
Well, you know what? I did hear he's like doing gig work, so maybe that's a gig, you know?
Yeah, you
It
know.
could have been an impersonator who came in and,
Oh, I didn't think you're thinking this way. Maybe it was the Donald.
or maybe it was that guy on your album cover who has the bad comb over.
It could be. It could be Olaf Sveen himself, the real Olaf Sveen. I don't know, but these are actual phone calls that come into the police department in northern Colorado.
It's
Woman,
an exciting day. It's time for a new lemon.
oh boy, Donald Trump put a bomb in her apartment. Okay. An employee on 29th Street said, yeah, that's interesting. She bought a new sewing machine from a craft store.
The
Maybe
baby's
still
so
buying
cute,
some.
David, look at him.
All right, let's see the baby.
You're cool, he's big.
He's very cute.
Oh, he's cute.
Am I the only one who's bored by babies?
He looks like Uncle Joe.
Well, he should.
I'm gonna say this.
He should look like Uncle Joe. He's Uncle Joe's grandchild. Anyway, all right. A caller, where the hell are we?
Yeah, I gotta write this.
An employee on 29th Street said someone bought a new sewing machine from a craft store. When they opened the box, a gun fell out. So yeah. All I gotta say about that is if you're sewing pants with wide cuffs, maybe it was a flare gun. That's the kind of verbal humor that we do here on Dave's Gone By, especially when we're mocking James Joyce
He's
and
so cute.
knocking out. James Joyce is so cute.
No, he looks like Uncle Joe. Everyone thought when I worked at Sinai, I had to give a baby picture. I put one of Uncle Joe holding me when I was sick. I had little, I had pajamas that had little hearts on them. They were white. And then Uncle Joe was Italian, ethnically Italian, and dark, olive skin. So then Al, who was the PI, like an MD, he said, that's got to be Nina because look at that Jewish nose. And that created massive...
Did it really?
Yes, he
Did it
did.
really? Wow.
And I said, it's funny because that's my Italian uncle, Joe.
The Italians have, they've got,
He's cute.
honkers.
Oh my God, he's the cutie patootie.
All you have to do is show women a baby, and they're like,
He's very cute.
me want.
Oh my God, he looks like Uncle Joe to me.
I feel that way about 18-year-old cheerleaders. But here we go.
He's cute. I think he's so cute.
Let's go 100 years ago. This was from the old times part of the Greeley Tribune. Things that were in the paper 100 years ago. This was a note apparently received by a teacher. Quote, Willie tells me you've been asking where are his glasses. You can tell him he had his tonsils removed this summer and he doesn't need glasses.
Yep.
Does that have any
Exactly.
logic in any part of the world? I'm just going to move on. A Loveland farmer was found not guilty in court this week, even though he shot a young boy. The boy was stealing watermelons from the man's garden, and he fired twice in the air to frighten the boy away. When the boy started running with the watermelon, the man chased him, tripped and fell, accidentally setting off the rifle. The boy is okay. Boy, how tight. If you accidentally completely fall, but you're chasing an unarmed boy with a water of any color, let alone black, white, or indifferent. But if you are holding a rifle, chasing a boy who's stealing watermelons from you.
You know what?
Yeah.
I mean, it's your own risk, right? Buyer beware.
Well, that's back in the day. If someone's stealing from me, I would shoot at them. But now, you're the bad guy for having the gun. Which
You're the meanie.
You're the meanie. Let's go to Denver, Colorado. This is a little further than northern Colorado, a little south of northern Colorado, for this next story that did happen a week or two ago.
A thing about prairie dogs playing that I think you'll enjoy.
Thank you. This happened this past week in Denver. A box of human heads was stolen from a truck in northeast Denver last week. The incident happened when the truck was parked overnight last Wednesday into Thursday. The heads were meant to be used for medical research purposes.
Oh, Lord of mercy.
The blue and white box with a label reading exempt human specimen was stolen from a freight company truck. Anyone with information on the incident is urged to give the police a heads up. Okay. Can you imagine, like, stealing something from a truck
Well, that's you. I
That's
was like,
me.
I didn't do that.
and opening it up and thinking, I don't know what they think, like drugs in there or
You know
drug
what?
paraphernalia?
You never know. I remember one time there was something where somebody stole something. It was like a cobra. They were
Oh,
snakes, and
yeah,
they
yeah.
opened it up, and it was like, yeah, you don't know.
Or also, if they go and they put it like in a garage and they charge people $1 to open the lid and take a look, but then they'd be guilty of scalping. Get scalped because it's a head joke. It's a head. All right, okay.
That's disgusting.
Let's do one or two more Greeley crimes and old times before we wrap up this segment. Let's do some new modern crime for you. A caller on 11th Avenue. Hello. With a lot of bags, was on drugs, and getting dressed inside the store.
There you go. Why not?
Did it mean that they were undressed when they came into the
No,
store?
they were changing their clothes.
I don't even, I can't. And I'm hoping it was a clothing store. I don't necessarily know. It was on 11th Avenue. Could have been a True Value. I have no idea. Now, I don't know why I find this funny. There's nothing funny directly about it, but I find it funny. A caller near 24th Street. This is something about this tickles me. They reported hitting a fire hydrant after being hit by another car that lost a wheel. I just like the Rube Goldbergness of it. It's like they were hit by this other car. They went into a fire hydrant. The car hit them. The car that hit them had lost a wheel. I love the concatenation of
But
detail.
Isn't that life, right?
It is. It really
That's
is.
really life.
Oh my God, we have another caller. A
Wait,
caller.
I'm looking up car crash. I gotta see.
Oh, you gotta see that one. Okay.
I think it's a taxi that I posted. Okay.
Here's 9th Street. Oh, 9th Street closing. They reported a cat hoarding house that had multiple feral cats inside the garage.
Hold on.
Do you call the cops about cats?
If it probably smells like a pee-pee town.
Oh, I guess
And then
in the
maybe they're
garage.
all yelling.
Yeah.
But if you hear this 24/7,
Yeah, no, that'd be annoying. Still, I think I would call animal control before.
I think the police are supposed to.
Oh, maybe
I could never get animal control in Greeley.
Really? Oh.
Yeah, I could never.
Well, maybe that's why they call the cops. Now, speaking of things that smell, besides me, a caller on 4th Avenue. Okay, this is fun. Caller on 4th Avenue reported people were spraying things around and under his house to make it smell bad every night for 2 years. So his neighbors
Something under his
are deliberately like spraying fart spray or something.
That would be like a bad neighbor.
That would be a very bad neighbor. Be a stinky neighbor, in fact, yes.
That would be like the worst neighbor.
Now, if this were true, I would call the police. Okay. If this were real, I would absolutely call the police. A woman on 10th Street wanted to report her sister as a serial killer to the police. So that's the whole story. No follow-up, nothing further. But if she suspects that her own sister is murdering people, this is one of those items that I really, really would put on like I would make that phone call. I would take a minute out of my day to say, "Oh, hi, police. I'm just guessing, but there was a box of human heads in the garage,
Oh, God.
and it smells really, really bad there. And there was a bomb in the apartment last week. You might want to. I think my sister's killing people. You never know. A caller on 68th Avenue, far away here. Yeah, hello. Well, that's just not fair. That is not fair. Yeah. He was fined by his landlord for having a dog, even though he didn't have a dog. Now, I'm wondering if he kept his apartment in such shape that it looked like he had a dog, or and his landlord is just kind of tacking on a service
No,
charge.
I think you know if someone has a dog or not. That's very weird.
Anywho, let's do. I don't know if I want to do one more old time or one more new time. I'm gonna check these out before I give them to you. I'm gonna let's see. Yeah, all right. Well, let's go with this one. Still from a week or two ago. A caller on 9th Street. Yeah, okay. Reported a woman on drugs collecting rocks out front.
That's not bad.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it, although who would and why would. I'm wondering, please get a noise ready for this.
Uh-oh.
Since she was on drugs, maybe she was collecting crack rocks.
Maybe she was stoned.
Ooh! Good one!
Thank you.
Your jokes are getting bolder.
Ooh, I just scratched myself with my ring.
Oh, don't scratch yourself with your ring.
Is it bleeding?
Not yet. Not that I can see, no. Anyway, that is Greeley Crimes and Old Times here on Dave's Gone By. Let's bring Groucho Marx on to end the segment.
Mr. Horace Greeley was no
He
fool.
was not.
I'm sure that you agree
Uh-huh.
with me that Greeley was no fool.
What he is getting at is that Mr. Greeley was no fool.
Yippee-yi!
Yippee-yi, 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 yi, yi, yippee-yi, yippee-yi, yippee-yi.
So, ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Dave's Gone By live on this Saturday, March 19th, 2022. It's our 842nd episode. We're calling it Read the Room in honor of our guest, Rosemarie Reed. I'll remind you about her movies and some other stuff coming up. We also have our Colorado Limerick of the Damned to do. But before then, this is sort of the I wouldn't say it's the garbage time portion of the show, even though we should have been off by noon. The show technically runs from 9 a.m. until noon Eastern time, but we always go overtime. And we always put the nastiest, dirtiest, worst stuff towards, not always, but we try to put it towards the end. So this is pretty horrible. But you know what? The guy kind of probably deserves it. So there you go. We know that on last Sunday, March 13th, the Hollywood actor William Hurt passed away at the age of 71 after suffering for a couple of years with prostate cancer that went to his bones and just, it was not a great ending for William Hurt. Now, ordinarily, we'd be like, oh, that's so sad. He was a talented, good-looking actor. He was in all these Hollywood films. He did these. He was in theater a lot also. But, certainly even before the big, monstrous woke and Me Too era that we're in, Marlee Matlin wrote her autobiography a few years back. They were together when they were doing Children of a Lesser God. He was like 30-something. She was like 19.
Oh.
They became a couple, but they were both on serious drugs.
Oh, really?
And he beat and abused and at one time raped her. If rape
Lord.
can be among boyfriend and girlfriend, which it can.
That's where in her book?
Yeah.
Okay.
So she really called him out as being like horrific.
Wow. Did any other reports of that surface?
Yeah, there was another woman he was with. It's funny, I haven't heard
Did
anything
he
from.
work with Meryl Streep?
I don't think
I don't know.
he had a lot of. He dated these gorgeous actresses.
What's
He was
that? What now?
somewhat attractive women that William Hurt, looking like William Hurt, was able to get. And a guy like me is like, good luck. But I got my wife. I got my darling, adorable wife, Joyce. Yeah, there goes my. No, but unfortunately, with drugs on his plate and whatever problems mentally he had, at least one other woman he was apparently quite abusive to. So, very mixed legacy for the late William Hurt. His legacy as an actor is kind of mixed for me because I used to see him on stage. I saw him in Hurly Burly on Broadway, and I saw him do a couple of shows at Circle Rep downtown off Broadway, and he just seemed to be sleepwalking through everything. That was his way. It was his manner. He was tall, commanding, good-looking presence, so he didn't have to do much. But at the same time, he always seemed to do less than what is required for a person being on stage and trying to captivate an audience. If you want to, you can even see him. He did a mostly very funny Midsummer Night's Dream for Joseph Papp and the New York Shakespeare Festival, like Shakespeare in the Park, and you can see the video of it. It's an all-star cast, and they got terrific people in it, and it's a very hilarious scene of Bottom and the players doing their gig. No, nobody famous in that, but they steal the show, as they should. And William Hurt plays Oberon. He's like the king of the fairies. And he's just mumbling. I don't know if it was a drug thing or that was just his way, but I just couldn't. I always wanted more from him. He was fine in broadcast news. He was good in Kiss of the Spider Woman. Just not my favorite actor. And now I feel good about saying that because apparently he was a brute, or at least for a certain part of his life. He was asked about it, the thing with Marlee Matlin years later, and he's actually no, they asked Marlee Matlin recently about the passing of, and she said, well, she didn't want to get into it. She was like, we apologized, we were both on trial, it was messed up times. It's true, but I don't want to, it's old history. He's gone.
Yeah, but it's in her book.
Yeah. Oh, it's all there. I didn't read the book, but it certainly came out as part of his obit. So I don't feel so bad. I would do it anyway, but I don't feel so bad about doing My Sick Mind, which are all jokes about the passing of actor William Hurt. And these are all, the punchlines, if you will, are all titles of William Hurt movies, some better known than others. So, yes, please endure this with me. 10 jokes from my truly sick mind.
My sick mind, sick mind, sick mind, sick mind, sick mind. Well, talk about bad taste. My sick mind, sick mind, sick mind, sick mind, sick mind. You sick little monkey.
So in both honor and dishonor of the late William Hurt, who passed away last Sunday at the age of 71, here are some jokes. Remember, all the punchlines are titles of William Hurt movies. Hey, what did William Hurt lose last Sunday? Body heat. Who couldn't help him? The doctor. Where is William Hurt spending limbo? Hellgate. What sign did St. Peter hang on the gates of heaven when he saw William Hurt approaching? Do not disturb. It's funny how her scream is exactly the same every time. I don't know how she does it. How did William Hurt temporarily get into heaven? Accidental tourist. What life experience is not listed on William Hurt's resume? A history of violence. By the way, what did Marlee Matlin and Sandra Jennings need 40 years ago? Avengers. Wait, at least right from the punchline.
Oh.
Avengers. There we go. Where is the coroner keeping William Hurt's body? The Big Chill. Where is William Hurt's soul? Lost in space. A little late on the uptake there, honey.
You told me not to do it too soon.
No, I was talking to the woman screaming.
Oh, okay.
What will his body turn into? Smoke. And that is Greeley Crimes and Old Times. No, it isn't. It's this is what happens after noon. No, it's My Sick Mind. Ladies and gentlemen, My Sick Mind here on Dave's Gone By on this Saturday, March 19th, 2022. We still have, speaking of sick, we have our Colorado Limerick of the Damned coming up. You're going to like this limerick. It's actually cute. But before we get to it, let's do some thank yous and let's do some friends of the Daverhood, which are people who've been on this program in months and years past. We're very, very grateful to them for appearing on the show, whether they appeared last week or a month ago or 19, 20 years ago when we first started this program. It's all good, and we love remembering them and saying, hey, here's what they're up to now. So, for example, want to give a shout out. Congratulations to author Joel Sandberg. He's the grandson of Benny Bell, so he wrote that book about the novelty songwriter Benny Bell that was years ago when we had him on the program. He has a new book out called Almost Like Praying. Almost Like Praying. I can't tell if it's fiction or nonfiction. It seems to be blurring the two, like fictional stories that are based on real things. But get yourself a copy. It's called Almost Like Praying by Joel Sandberg. Plus, want to let you know that this weekend, that passed. That was earlier in the week. But tonight, we mentioned him before. Saturday, today, 2 shows, one at 6 p.m., another at 8 p.m. Mike Agranoff is playing at the Richmond Town Tavern in Staten Island. Mike Agranoff, he's the guy I mentioned who told the Sandman story about radio. So, see him live tonight at the Richmond Town Tavern. Want to let you know that tomorrow, Sunday, being honored by Encompass New Opera Theater, Danny Burston, the Tony Award-winning actor. He was on our show years ago on one of our... Can you hear the bird? Listen to that bird.
Hold on one second. I'll take care of it.
Thank you. Oh, you winged him. This is bird going, Rita. By the way, at the Encompass New Opera Theater is honoring Chita Rivera and our friend Danny Burston. This is tomorrow. Among the people who will be speaking or performing are also friends of the Daverhood. Karen Ziemba, Sheldon Harnick is taking place at the National Arts Club in Manhattan. Also, I want to let you know that tomorrow, Robert Cuccioli and Katie Huffman are directing one-act plays and it's going to be virtual, for the Theater Resources Unlimited fundraising gala. And Theater Resources Unlimited is a good organization. They're really helpful to people who want to produce their own shows and create theater and get shows up. A lot of good advice that they give. So there's a fundraising gala. Robert Cuccioli and Katie Huffman are doing a virtual, some directing plays virtually for tomorrow's virtual gala. Letting you know that this Monday, Scott Siegel's Broadway by the Year, New Wave, is being performed in person at the Town Hall in Midtown Manhattan. For tickets, go to thetownhall.org. Letting you know that starting on Monday on Broadway, and she was on this show talking about this a few months ago, Amanda Green, she is the lyricist for the new Broadway musical Mr. Saturday Night, conceived by and starring Billy Crystal. That is at the Nederlander Theater. It's one of the more anticipated musicals of this season, and it starts previews on Monday. On Tuesday, the Yellow Sound label is releasing Sondheim Unplugged Volume 2.
Oh, wow.
The late, great Stephen Sondheim, featuring Karen Mason. She'll be singing the great song from Company, Being Alive. And Sally Mays is singing Can That Boy Foxtrot? Both of those and a whole bunch more on this CD collection, Sondheim Unplugged Volume 2 from Yellow Sound Recordings, Yellow Sound Records. Also, Tuesday, starting and then running through late April, a show called Penelope at the York Theater, which is the theater company is run by James Morgan, and he's also doing the set for Penelope. This is taking place at St. Jean's Church on East 76th Street. New York had a terrible flood. Not only were they hit by the pandemic, but they had a bad, bad flood in their regular space at St. Peter's. Is it St.? Yeah. So they have a temporary home at St. Jean's Church. But check them out. It's a new musical called Penelope, being done by the York Theater with a set design by our friend Jim Morgan. At 54 Below on, let's see, that's on Tuesday still. 54 Below celebrates Sondheim, and among the people who are going to be doing that, Annie Golden. So you know her from Orange is the New Black, and has been an actress for many years. She will be there celebrating Sondheim this Tuesday night. Playing now through end of March, and I'll bet you much longer than that, at Birdland, Eric Comstock and Barbara Fasano every Saturday night. Robert Cuccioli is appearing, not only is he, we've got to start doing like an Austin Pendleton alert for Robert Cuccioli. Yeah. Because he is not only doing that directing of the one acts, but he is starring in A Touch of the Poet for Irish Repertory Theater that is playing now through the middle of April. Get your tickets at irishrep.org. On Broadway at the Ambassador Theater, Chicago, featuring our friend Ray Bachor as Amos. At the New Amsterdam Theater, Aladdin, which features music by Alan Menken. And then, of course, every Monday night, Jim Caruso's Cast Party at Birdland. Get your tickets, birdlandjazz.com. Finally, Evan Seplow, our great friend of the Daverhood, created StageBuddy.com, which is a website about New York nightlife. Dr. Demento doing new Dr. Demento shows at drdemento.com. Bob Cudmore doing podcasts of upstate New York history at bobcudmore.com. Soundsofbroadway.com, a website created by Stuart Brown featuring 24/7 Broadway show tunes. And finally, let's not forget, well, Gilbert Gottfried's Amazing Colossal Podcast. He does a podcast himself. You definitely, if you're a Gilbert lover like I am, you've got to tune in. And those, my friends, are the friends of the Daverhood. Yes, the friends of the Daverhood here on Dave's Gone By. Plus, we have a brand new friend of the Daverhood. Let's not forget Rosemarie Reed, whose film Playing in the FM Band, The Steve Post Story, is way past post-production. It's out there, and there's ways that you can see it. In fact, she said she bundled it with a bunch of her other films or her documentaries that you can watch. Plus, she's pushing these things onto the festival circuit. So yay for Rosemarie Reed. Remember, filmsforthought.com. Films, F-O-R, thought.com. Do check her out, and we thank her so much for being with us in the Daverhood. As a matter of fact, I want to thank Andrea Torres over at Film Forum for giving us Rosemarie. What a fine conversation. She was great.
Her website's beautiful. I put it in the chat.
Yeah. So thank her. Thank also, of course, to Moshe Denburg, his band Simus.
He likes to share.
He's great.
He's very sharing. He's very kind to other contestants. He's unlike anyone else who plays.
He's very, very Hamish. He's a great dude. So go and get his music, why don't you?
Yes, I put his link in the chat. You could do it.
Why don't you get his original album, The Sweet and Hot, and then compare it to Sweeter and Hotter, and then listen to them both. Get them
or
both.
Just see when he played at the Place of My People or the Habadnik place.
Well, find out more about him. His band is Simmes, T-Z-I-M-M-E-S. Simmes, I think .net is the website.
Yeah, it is. Wait, hold on.
Joyce is checking.
Yeah, it is. It's tzimmes.net/Moshe. I say Moshe Denburg.
It really should be Moshe.
Denburg, yeah.
Moshe Denburg. What a delightful fella.
Whatever you say, check out
Check out simmes.net. And also, hey, congratulations, because he tied with David Sheward.
That was amazing.
I mean, David Sheward, the man.
David came back and just resumed his role immediately.
Oh, absolutely.
In a heartbeat, yeah.
Always delighted to have David Sheward. Remember to read him at theaterlife.com, and culturaldaily.com. That's where he does his theater reviews. And then if you want to read more of his story stuff about the Oscars and the Carol Burnett show, you can read his blog, The David Desk. Just Google that, The David Desk. And of course, Vicki Quade. Let's not forget Vicki. She is performing at the Greenhouse Theater, or if she's not in the show, these are shows that she's created, that she's conceived, that you can see. So she's in Late Night Catechism that she co-wrote with Mary Pat Donovan, that you can see her in. Plus, she's also doing Easter Bunny Bingo.
I should ask you, but you read you didn't read the Horrible Pun of Destiny.
Oh, I know. I'm saving. I'm so yeah.
Give me a minute, okay?
Yeah, but I haven't even told them about Rabbi Saul Solomon. So you're gonna miss. Why are you throwing me my old underpants? Why on earth would I want? And I do not want to show these on. These aren't so bad. I didn't ruin these so terribly, but underpants. Oh, you know what? Oh, I know what you. I'm sorry, Pate. I know you had an accident. Oh no! Oh, there's vodka coming out of me. There, you look so much better. Here's your little tidy. Well, I've worn them so long, they're not really tidy whiteys anymore. They're sort of tidy gray brownies. Anywho, I'm not responsible for anything I say. So here's the deal. Rabbi Saul Solomon, who did his rabbinical reflection about James Joyce, you can see that. There's a link at his website, shalomdammit.com, shalomdammit.com. Also, all his interviews that he does for this program, you can watch them at davesgoneby.com or at Saul's own website, shalomdammit.com. Plus at his website, his stage show, which we are just dying to bring back to New York and bring back Shalom Dammit, an evening with Rabbi Saul Solomon. He's ready to do the sequel to that, which is called Hate Speech with Love. So
I know you want to play your song.
for all things Saul, shalomdammit.com or his Twitter feed at Rabbi Saul Solomon. At attention to. If you want to read his sermons, that's at the website too. Check him out, shalomdammit.com. Okay, so also want to let you know let's do our Colorado Limerick of the Damned, and then I'll tell you who's going to be on upcoming episodes
Who's going to be an upcoming
on the program. But first, and don't you think it should be last, ladies and gentlemen, every week, I've been doing a Colorado Limerick of the Damned, because Joyce and I lived in Colorado for several years, and I got it into my head for really no reason, and certainly no good reason, to write a short poem about as many places in Colorado as I possibly could. Some of them are pretty easy, because like Vale rhymes with everything, county rhymes with some things, but some are a little tougher. This week, we go to Garfield, Colorado. Garfield, Colorado. I'm going to tell you a little bit about it, and then give you an awful poem. Our Colorado Limerick of the Damned.
You're the poetry man.
A limerick is a comic verse of 5 lines, in which lines 1, 2, and 5 will end with words that rhyme. And likewise, verses 3 and 4 also end with words that rhyme. So this is a limerick.
Rocky Mountain, Colorado, Colorado.
Oh, we are Rocky Mountain High on our Colorado Limerick of the Damned today, where we go to Garfield, Colorado. Let me tell you a little bit about it. It's an unincorporated community in Chaffee County, that's in central Colorado, near Salida, for those of you who know your Colorado. Population 15. The thing sits on about a third of a square mile. People have houses bigger than that. In the 1880s, it was originally called Junction City. Then it was renamed Monarch, and then they changed it to Garfield because of President James Garfield. In 1883, this is for the laughter, a catastrophic fire happened in Garfield, Colorado, when a barrel of gunpowder exploded at Farrell's Saloon, and the entire town burned to the ground. So the town was rebuilt and was named for President James A. Garfield. By the way, there's also a Garfield County in Colorado, which is sort of separate from Garfield, Colorado. Okay. Have him calm down. It's time for a limerick. Oh, all right. Okay. I need silence for the limerick to begin. Ladies and gentlemen, here comes Garfield, Colorado, our limerick of the damned. Sit and save for the finale, because you're going to like this one, I promise. Tucked deep in the outskirts of Garfield, you'll find an immense and bizarre field. 'Twas there Jean-Paul Sartre let out a great fart, so loud that Simone de Beauvoir squealed. Huh?
That is good.
No, thank you.
Yeah, but she did not like, they had a bad relationship.
Oh, well, okay.
That was upsetting for all the,
Well, because he was farting all the time.
Yeah.
And then people were writing poems about it, and it drove a wedge between them. If he had a wedge in his buttocks, it would have been better. But no, ladies and gentlemen, send your comments and complaints to davesgoneby.com. D-A-V-E-S, davesgoneby.com is my website. Send your comments to davesgoneby@aol.com. That's my email address. davesgoneby@aol.com. I try and read every piece of mail I get. I don't have time to necessarily respond to everyone. If you message me on Facebook or post your message under the show, if I see it, I'll definitely give a thumbs up if if it's worth giving a thumbs up to. But I do love hearing you and hearing what you have to say about the show, your compliments, your cool things. And Dave, you should see this. Or Dave, I've taken your face and put it on this. Thank you, Stan. So yeah, it's all good. I do this for the fun. And remember, no dumping. No dumping. There you go. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you what's going to be on upcoming episodes of the Davis Gone By Facebookio, Podcastio, Programmio of the stream. I'm going to go back to page 1 for that. Here it is. Here it is. So, coming up next Saturday morning. Now, we've been having... Wow, do you smell gasoline?
I do. I've been smelling it since yesterday. Yeah.
Maybe that was that big fire they had.
I don't know. It's not good.
I mean, it's like, woo, it's like petrol and
Maybe it's the
benzene.
neighbor might be doing something.
But anywho, I'm sorry. So next Saturday,
Someone's cooking.
on this program between 9 and noon, it'll be noon. It'll be 9 and noon. Here's the deal. We've had Judy Collins back on recently. We had George Clinton on the show. Christine Lavin has been on this program. Matthew Sweet was on a few months ago. We've got another one on Saturday, March 26th. Our guest will be chatting with Rabbi Saul Solomon, the one, the only hermit himself, Peter Noon, the Herman of Herman's Hermits. I am. I got married to the widow next door. She's been... So, yeah, you know that song. You also know, don't they know it's the end of the world? And Dandy, the King's great song, and he also
I
does...
think we should evacuate this place before we have...
Until we... Yeah, well, it's coming from outside, so wherever it's coming from. Oof. So, but Peter Noon...
David, did you make a foofy?
He'll be in... Well, you know, you did toss me my underpants. Maybe it's coming from these. Seriously, though, tune in next week. Rabbi Salt chatting with Peter Noon of Herman's Hermits about his life, his career. He's still performing. He's going to be playing on Long Island, and actually in New York and Long Island. 2 opportunities to catch him in a week and a half or so. Freaking Peter Noon, a legend of the music business, going to be our guest in the Daverhood on March 26th. Also coming up, I'm not sure exactly when, but I think the first weekend in April, Tamar, who is also sometimes known as Tammy Faye Starlight. Kind of confusing a bit, but Tamar is this Israeli songstress of the Eurovision Song Contest kind of style. She's going to be performing in New York, and she'll be visiting us in the Daverhood, talking to Sal Solomon in just a week or so, or in 2 weeks from now. So check that out. And then, this is really jumping ahead, but in early May, Michael Takif, he is doing a show on a Jewish theme. He'll be talking to Rabbi Sol Solomon as well. So a lot of cool stuff that you're going to want to stay tuned for. Plus, we're trying to figure out and book some other people also. To find out what's going to be upcoming on Dave's Gone By, go to davesgoneby.com. Check this Facebook page, Dave's Gone By. And then, of course, for our archives, davesgoneby.com, archive.org, castbox.fm. If you just want to listen to the audio archives, it's a podcasting site, castbox.fm. Our YouTube channel, Dave's Gone By. And Tuesday nights, 9:30 in the evening, watch an hour-long random excerpt of the show on Altice Cable, Channel 20, every Tuesday night, 9:30 Eastern Time. So, that's about it. I want to wish you, first of all, a very, very happy upcoming spring. We're talking about this in the office. It wasn't a terrible winter. We had one really rough storm. And that's a spring going boing. But it wasn't a terrible, mostly winter. So maybe it'll be a good spring that's coming in just a couple of days. Oh! We didn't even, this is what the last thing we want to talk about. Oh my God, oh my goodness. The news that came this week, and from the very first year that I was on this program, when I first started doing Dave's Gone By, back in 2002, I'm only half a year away from the 20th anniversary, or beginning the 21st year of Dave's Gone By. And I was already ranting. Because we started in October, so it would have been right around the time. And I did a rant about daylight savings time, Eastern Standard Time, the ridiculousness of turning the clocks back and forward and having to lose an hour, gain an hour. And it was just the stupidest, most ridiculous thing. I especially went off on.
I put an angry clock going like
and this was the dumbest thing, which they ended up changing a few years ago. But back when we started this show, it was still, they were changing the clocks in mid-October and setting the clocks back, spring ahead, fall back, so that you had kids going out trick-or-treating for Halloween in pure darkness, even though it was 5 o'clock in the afternoon. They're like, before we send kids out to strangers' houses, on the roads, on the streets, little kids collecting stuff, going to beg people for goodies, let's roll the clock back an hour so they have even less daylight that the youngins can do this. It was the dumbest thing. And in recent years they did, I give them credit, they pushed it to mid-November before they pulled the clocks back. And now and it's been getting shorter and shorter, but here's the deal. I think it was the Senate that voted, and I think the House is going to follow suit, unless Joe Manchin decides to vote this down too. But they're going to take it away. We're going to do it one more time. We're going to go fall back in the fall, and then I think by 2023, we're just going to keep.
Hopefully, we'll live to see it, honey. That would be.
Yeah, if Russia doesn't blow us up, if COVID BA2 doesn't kill us all, you know, if. What else is there? What else is facing the world at the moment?
That's all.
Right.
I
Yeah.
did send you that there's Plav. You know, we want to rescue Plav from the Ukraine.
Yeah, this is true. Yes. I'm Dave. Maybe this weekend or certainly next week, Dave is going to get himself some Plav. Oh, I've talked about this. There's a dish. There's an Uzbeki dish called Plav, Plov, which is
Do you
rice.
think that restaurant owners are Uzbeki because they have Plav?
Well, it could be from a whole region.
Okay.
They're trying not to say it's really not Russian, thank goodness, or else nobody'd be buying it. But it's basically a rice dish with a bit of meat.
It's like Hungarian beef stew, but with other, like it has like lamb and all sorts.
Well, no, it's more ricey than beefy. It really is. Most places they're so cheap that they put in three pieces of beef.
It's like a casserole.
Yeah. But it's tasty. It's got a little carrot in there. Should have a little bit peas. Maybe onion.
Maybe what you could do is next week you could purchase it on Friday.
Yeah.
And then when you get home from work, and then you could.
Well, no, they won't be open.
Sunday.
That's the one time they. Yeah.
You could do it for any night, Thursday night, and just put it in the fridge, and then you'll have it and then you heat it up and eat it on your show at the end of your show for lunch next Saturday.
Wow. I would not only love that, I would plov that.
It would be a Plav fest.
Plav fest. Gotta get behind the plav every morning and plav. I don't even know where I'm going with that. Yeah, this is the real end of the show. This is where I'm just talking off the top of my head. But yay to whoever is making the decision to finally do this ridiculous thing. It was really my coworker was explaining to me when this whole Eastern Standard Daylight thing time was for farmers to go and have an extra hour to buy stuff at markets. Because what happened, they would work till sun up to sundown. My coworker with the birds and with the...
Oh, Mr. Plov, yes.
So that was initially the idea before lights and...
But how do you know that's true? Maybe you just made it up.
I don't know. But apparently that was the thing. It was really just about
Is
commerce.
he talking about generic
What?
daylight savings time or the name brand?
Oh, I'm not sure. That's an in joke right there, folks. But here's the deal. He said apparently that was the real thing, that farmers needed an extra hour of daylight so they could finish their chores and then, with roads not lit and stuff, get to the market and buy. And so it was a monetary thing, that all these markets were losing money every time that the clocks were, or whatever it was. So they moved the clock forward.
I'm more confused now.
Yeah, me too. Anywho, it's not going to happen anymore. I'm not going to miss it. I mean, part of me feels like I'm going to miss this thing of it staying live out until 7:30. I think they should leave that as the actual thing. But
David, you're becoming grumpy.
Whichever one, I'm just glad it's done after fall. We all set the clocks. Now if they could just get rid of this is so great.
Oh, God, here you go.
No, I'm so happy. Last week I reported that the Tony Awards are going to be live, right? No, I'm not. I'm the opposite of complaining. The Tony Awards will be live across the country. It's not going to be a tape delay of any kind in Midwest and California. If we were still in Colorado, it would be live on TV. Thank you, right?
You've been, campaigning for that for quite a long time.
Yeah, and now all these things. I have to go back and watch my old episodes to say what I told people to do.
Farmer's Almanac, except you're like Cassandra. You predict and nobody listens.
20 years ahead of my time. I say, this should happen.
Yes.
Why is this not happening?
Yes.
And then 20 years later, at least I'm still alive to see it.
Yes.
Thank God.
Yes.
Thank God. So maybe Israel will annex California. I'm hoping.
Why California?
I don't know.
Florida makes more sense.
You know, it would. And a longer trip, but now that people are taking cruises again, it could happen. Anyway, I'm Dave Lefkowitz. That's my darling and adorable wife, Joyce. Thanks to all of you for watching, for sharing, for telling people about this show, Dave's Gone By. And have a most wonderful week and springtime and gone by.
Days gone by, they're gone by. Days gone by, they're gone by. Days gone by, they're gone by.
I think I've earned my sip of Hortex Jabelko Mieta. Don't you? I certainly do.
You earned too.
See you next week.